Chapter 5019. Lin Xian walked forward, waved his hand, and said loudly, "Let's go. Let's see what right you have to say such big words." He seemed to have a very disdainful expression. Countless people exclaimed. This young man was about to die, yet he still dared to be arrogant. "If you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish." Heaven battling divine fist. He waved his hand and threw out a punch. Countless people exclaimed. Heavens, that was the ultimate technique that made heaven battling famous. That kid was really dead. With one punch, the surrounding universe kept shattering. Nothing could stop it. Lin Xian also felt a huge pressure. He also clenched his hand into a fist and threw it forward. The power of his divine body was unleashed to the extreme. One punch to split the sky. No way. This guy wants to fight heaven battling head on? Where did his confidence come from? Did he know that heaven battling had the legendary physique of the god of war? That was one of the strongest physiques in the universe. Who could resist it? Stupid thing. Some people looked at Lin Xian and sneered while shaking their heads. Heaven battling also said, "I thought you had some strength, but now it seems that you are stupid." It was over. His fist swung over and collided with Lin Xian's fist. A thunderous sound was heard, and millions of thunderbolts flashed between heaven and earth. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled, as if the world was about to be destroyed. Fortunately, this was the starry sky of the universe. Otherwise, if they were to fight on a certain star, that star would have long been shattered into pieces. After the collision, the two figures retreated. How was that possible? Countless people were stunned. The situation they imagined did not happen. In their opinion, Lin Xian would not be able to block that punch at all. He would be blasted into a bloody mist, and his body and soul would be destroyed. But now, that did not happen. The other party blocked it. Damn it, how did he do it? How terrifying was this kid's physique? Countless people were shocked. Heaven battling pupils also constricted. He could not believe that the other party could block his fist. Was the other party's strength already comparable to his? Even Yang Xiansheng, who was watching the battle from the side, was also surprised and narrowed his eyes. He had always thought that Lin Xian was very mysterious, and now it seemed that he was indeed strong. However, this person had never appeared before. Could it be that he had been silently cultivating all this time? He was too good at enduring. Lin Xian's arm was also a little numb. He had to admit that the other party was a powerful enemy. However, he quickly used the art of immortality to restore his arm to its original state. He stretched out a finger and pointed to the front. One move has already passed. There are still 2 moves left. You'd better bring out your true abilities. Otherwise, don't blame me for killing you. How arrogant. Boundless arrogance. Countless people were in an uproar. How terrifying was Zhang Tian's name in this starry sky. Now, there was actually someone who didn't put him in their eyes. "Brat, you've completely angered me." He waved his arm as if it had turned into a peerless divine sword, slashing downward. The endless stars became dim and lightless. This sword was called the Heaven-Cleaving Sword, and it had once easily cleaved a world in half. It could be said to be terrifying to the extreme. Now that he had used it, it once again caused countless cries of surprise. This punch was even more terrifying than the previous one. Could this kid withstand it? Was he using his ultimate skill again? Lin Xian snorted coldly, still not afraid. 6-path fist. He threw out a punch with an indomitable will, carrying with it an aura that could destroy everything. Around his fist, there were phantoms of 6 worlds circling around it, as if there were 6 paths of reincarnation. Boom, clang, an intense collision sounded, and the heaven-cleaving sword was blocked in midair. The phantoms of 6 worlds kept circling around, resisting the sword head-on. Countless people were shocked. What kind of fist technique is this? Why do I feel a trace of incomparably mysterious power? Yang Xiansheng frowned. The power of reincarnation. Could it be the six-path fist of reincarnation? How did he use it? Was he related to the Heaven and Earth Emperor? Countless people were shocked. Naturally, some people in the Misty Rain Tower recognized it. This was the power of reincarnation. Exclamations sounded one after another. Among them, there were a few figures who were also shocked. Among them, there was a young man whose eyes were shining. This person was so powerful. He had red hair and a handsome face, which was the symbol of the Azura race. His fiery red hair was unusually eye-catching, and there were many people beside him. One person said, "Your Highness, do you want to investigate his background?" "Yes." "Azura, you nodded. I am very interested in this person, and I must know his identity, and I must try my best to rope him in. This way, our chances of success should be much higher." However, beside him, there were also people who frowned. Prince, could he really block Worski's third move? To be honest, they didn't dare to believe it. Worski was such a terrifying existence. Azura Yu's eyes were shining. He said, "Just wait and see. I believe he can do it. Even if he can't, I will do my best to protect him." Azura Yu had already decided that even if Lin Xian was defeated, he would reveal his identity and save him. The surrounding people were shocked because they found that the heaven-cleaving sword was also blocked by the other party. It was too unbelievable. This kid was really so powerful. Lin Xian said, "There is still a third move. Have you thought about what secret art you want to use?" Jean Tian's face was so dark that it was frightening. He had made a bold statement before. He had said that he would kill the other party in 3 moves, but he couldn't do it now. The third move must kill the other party. Thinking of this, he took a step forward, and the laws on his body kept spinning. It formed an illusory world, the world of battles. This was a world that he evolved with his bloodline and laws. It was his own world, and he was the master here. Everything could be over. The world of battles shrouded Lin Xian. The power inside was enough to shatter everything. Not good. Lin Xian's pupils also dilated. He just wanted to feel the horror of this move. The next moment, he roared, and the blood seal in his palm condensed endless golden light, turning into a golden lion that charged forward. Seal of the fearless lion. The golden lion roared to the sky, tearing the 9 heavens. It waved its 2 techniques, turning the whole world upside down. Worski's body kept shaking, and his face was full of shock. Countless people were in an uproar. Yang Xianqing's pupils shrank. Seal of the fearless lion. How could it be? This was the Golden Lion King's secret art? How could he? He was really shocked. With a roar, he waved the spear in his hand, turning it into a waterfall, and charged forward. The world of battles was already shaking, and with Yang Xianqing's full-strength attack, the world of battles directly tore a big crack. Worski vomited blood and flew backward. The people of Zifu rushed over and shouted, "Yang Xianqing, what do you want to do? Do you want a sneak attack? Damn it, my Zifu will not let you go." However, Yang Xianqing didn't care at all. He stared at Lin Xian and asked coldly, "How do you know the seal of the fearless lion? What is your relationship with the Golden Lion King? Tell me your origin." The spear pointed forward. He was very suspicious of Lin Xian's identity. Chapter 5020. Lin Xian frowned. "Not good. I didn't expect the Golden Lion King to be from this era. Once he used it, there was a problem. Yang Xianqing suspected him. How was Lin Xian going to explain? Say that he knew the Golden Lion King? If he provoked the Golden Lion King, it would be even more troublesome. Lin Xian was still hesitating about how to explain, but from Yang Xianqing's point of view, he was obviously guilty. He shouted coldly, "If you don't say it, then I'll do it myself." He waved the war spear in his hand. Yang Xianqing's strength was not weaker than Worski's, so he attacked forcefully and destroyed the stars. Lin Xian's body swayed. He used Shadowless Heaven's net and kept dodging. He said, "Wait, this is a misunderstanding." He wanted to say something, but his figure suddenly disappeared. "Want to leave?" Yang Xianxing shouted angrily and formed a seal. The demonic mark between his eyebrows released a terrifying aura. Then it suddenly opened. It turned into a purple eye that pierced through the sky. Divine eye of prominence. Many people were shocked. Their souls shook. Some people quickly retreated. They knew that Yang Xianxing's third eye was too terrifying. It was enough to destroy everything. As expected, one of the stars in the distance instantly collapsed under the gaze of this gaze. The endless starry sky was drawn into darkness. This gaze was terrifying, but Yang Xianxing's brows were tightly knitted together. Disappeared. He realized that the other party had really disappeared. Under his divine eye, he seemed to be unable to see the other party. Damn it, did he teleport away? But he didn't seem to feel the laws of space. Damn it. Warsky gritted his teeth and roared, searching crazily. The other people were in an uproar. Shuryu frowned and went to check what was going on. The experts of the Shura clan beside him also checked, but in the end, they got the same result. The other party had disappeared. It seemed that they could no longer find him. Where could he have gone? Everyone was very confused. Lin Xian was even more shocked. He seemed to have entered the torrent of time. He was shuttling back and forth quickly. Damn it, what's going on? Why did he have to go back? Could it be that he had to return to reality? But this time was too short. He didn't complete the Shura princess request at all. Something must have happened during the process. Lin Xian furrowed his brows. The mark of the fearless lion should be this. Perhaps it was because he used the fearless lion seal in front of the Heavenly Court's people. This triggered a series of suspicions. He knew that the world was all about cause and effect. What happened 100,000 years ago had already happened. His past had obviously changed the situation. That's why this happened. With a sigh, Lin Xian shook his head. The power of time was too mysterious. He didn't know what to do. However, at that moment, a badge in his storage ring shone brightly and enveloped him. What is this? Lin Xian was shocked. He knew that this token was given to him by the Shura princess. Could he actually stop time now? Lin Xian realized that his figure seemed to be returning to 100,000 years ago. He was too shocked. The Azura race definitely had something to do with the power of time. Perhaps the Shura princess had mastered the space-time sword. He wasn't sure. However, he seemed to know the reason behind the Azura clan's demise. If the Azura clan really did control the power of time, it was enough to make anyone fearful. Light flickered. Lin Xian realized that he had returned to the universe's starry sky. He returned to the Misty Rain Pavilion and found that those people had already left. Moreover, it was already a year later. It had been a year since his last battle with Warsky. The power of time was too strange. No, there were still 2 years. He didn't know if the Azura Prince had entered the land of death. Lin Xian found someone in the Misty Rain Pavilion and asked about the situation in Death Valley. Then he quickly set off. That person didn't react at first. However, he soon cried out in surprise. Heavens! Wasn't that guy the one who fought with Warsky a year ago? He actually came back again. What? Are you talking about that mysterious expert? Where is he? They all searched, but Lin Xian was too fast. By the time they came back to their senses, Lin Xian had already disappeared. Previously, he had asked about Death Valley, and it seemed that he was heading there. Should we go and take a look? Hearing this, the others quickly shook their heads. Forget it. That's the land of death. A great sage would definitely die there. I don't want to die there. Death Valley, a place of despair. It was a very scary place in the universe. Legend had it that after entering, no one had ever come out alive. At this moment, Lin Xian came to the place based on the information he received. He found that there was a valley in front of him. It was abnormally scary. The aura of death made him frown. Such a scary place. Why did Azura you come here? However, from the looks of it, Azura, you probably went in and never came out. Was he going in? If he was trapped here, then it would be fun. He came from 100,000 years in the future. If he was trapped here, he probably wouldn't be able to get out. No one would even know that he died here. Lin Xian furrowed his brows tightly. At this moment, he seemed to have thought of something and entered the sword world. He looked at the Hellfire Dragon, who was still expanding his territory. Lin Xian said, "Old man, come here." The Hellfire Dragon was very angry. He walked over and said, "Kid, what are you trying to do? Although I was sealed by that old man, it doesn't mean that you can order me around." Lin Xian smiled. "It's not good to be a coolie. Do you want to go out early and give you a chance?" "What chance?" The Hellfire Dragon's eyes lit up. Although he was just a remnant soul, he really wanted to go out. Lin Xian said, "Death Valley, a place of despair. I've never heard of it." The Hellfire Dragon was shocked. "Why would you go to such a place? Do you not want to live anymore? Why do you care so much?" "I'm just asking if you know. If you don't, then you won't have a chance." Lin Xian felt that the Hellfire Dragon had lived for countless years. Although it was suppressed, it was still a terrifying existence back then. Hence, he was going to ask if it knew. The Hellfire Dragon said, "You don't say. I do know about this place. I've even been there before." "You've been there before?" Lin Xian was stunned and frowned. Didn't they say that this was a place of death? No one who went in had ever come out alive. The Hellfire Dragon snorted. This was indeed a place of death. But no one came out. It was too exaggerated. Plus, what kind of existence was this dragon? At its peak, it was a supreme existence. It's not something you can imagine. I went in and came out normal. Seeing Lin Xian's doubtful gaze, the Hellfire Dragon was furious. He snorted and said, "This dragon only went in for a short distance and then came back. It was too terrifying inside. There was a huge secret." Chapter 5021. Lin Xian asked, "What are you going in for? What's the point of going to such a dangerous place?" This was what he was very confused about. What was Azura Yu planning? Because there was a legend that there were two great emperors who entered Death Valley in their later years and never came out. Some people speculated that the two of them had fallen asleep inside. Think about it. If the two great emperors died inside, then their inheritance must be inside too. I went there because I heard about this legend. Who doesn't want the inheritance of the great emperors? Lin Xian was shocked. There was such a thing. Now, he finally understood why Azura Yu wanted to go in. Azura Yu, no matter how talented he was, it was too difficult to become a great emperor. He probably went in for the inheritance of the great emperors. Thinking about this, he was also excited and curious. He prepared to go in. Taking a deep breath, Lin Xian entered Death Valley. After entering, a terrifying death aura shrouded him. Lin Xian snorted coldly and activated the Taiji diagram. The Taiji diagram rotated to block the attack. The Taiji diagram rotated and blocked the death aura. Then he continued to walk in. The aura inside was very terrifying. There was no sound at all. Suddenly, Lin Xian felt someone patting him from behind. He turned around, but there was no one. What was going on? Was it an illusion? Maybe he was too nervous. He looked carefully with the Tianji God eyes, but there was still no figure. He let out a sigh of relief. Just as he was about to leave, he suddenly froze and his body froze. This was because he found a claw mark on the back of his shoulder. It was obvious that something had hit him just now. Damn it. This Death Valley was too strange. He couldn't see through it even with the Tianji God child. What was it? Lin Xian asked the Hellfire Dragon. The Hellfire Dragon said, "You met that thing too. I met it back then too. It's just a small thing, nothing to be afraid of." When Lin Xian heard this, he rolled his eyes. Nothing to fear? That was using the Hellfire Dragon's cultivation. The Hellfire Dragon was no weaker than Xia Jiuyo at his peak. Lin Xian couldn't compare at all. The Hellfire Dragon did not care, but that did not mean he did not care. Taking a deep breath, Lin Xian used Shadowless Heaven's net and moved quickly. Fortunately, the mysterious existence did not slap him again. That was a relief to him. After walking for about half a day, a frightened voice suddenly came from the front. There seemed to be people roaring and fighting. Lin Xian frowned and rushed over. The next moment he saw a shocking scene. There was a red storm ahead. Red claws stretched out from the red storm and instantly enveloped the two great sages. Then it was torn to pieces. Lin Xian was shocked. There was actually a saint here. But what was that red storm and claw? Was there a monster inside? The Hellfire Dragon said, "Kid, leave quickly. Don't provoke the existence inside." Lin Xian sucked in a breath of cold air. If even the Hellfire Dragon said so, it meant that it was extremely dangerous. He quickly retreated. The people in front also saw it. When they saw Lin Xian, they were stunned. Then he said, "Fellow Taoist, please save us. We are willing to give you a treasure." Lin Xian sneered. He was unmoved. What a joke. He didn't have the ability to save these people. He quickly dodged. The people in front screamed in despair. In the end, no one could escape. After the red storm disappeared, Lin Xian walked up. He realized that the people in front were all dead. These people recognized him. That meant that they must have seen him in the Misty Rain Tower. According to Zhang Tian, those who could enter the Misty Rain Tower were all top-notch in strength and identity. But even so, these people still died here. Lin Xian's face was extremely cold. This place was more dangerous than he thought. Fortunately, he had the Hellfire Dragon's reminder. He asked, "What should I do next?" The Hellfire Dragon said, and walked forward. There was an underground river there. That river is dry and is equivalent to a passageway. You can walk along that river. You should be able to go inside. This way, it would be less dangerous. Lin Xian nodded. He followed the Hellfire Dragon's instructions and started to look for the dry river. After walking for about 3 days, Lin Xian stopped. His brows were tightly knitted together because he did see a river. However, it wasn't a dry river. There was water. The blood-red river water was like blood vessels on the ground. Lin Xian frowned. "Is this the dried-up river you were talking about?" The Hellfire Dragon took a look and was surprised. "That's not right. The last time I came, it was dry. Why is there water now? And it doesn't look like water. It's blood. Kid, the last time I came here, I don't know how many thousands of years ago it was. These years, there have been new changes here. I don't know about it. So, you have to be more careful." Lin Xian nodded. Obviously, there were some changes here. Suddenly, he was stunned. He realized that there were a few figures floating over from the blood river. There were 3 of them. Lin Xian was surprised. When he took a closer look, his pupils shrank even more. He waved his hand, and a golden hand appeared. It grabbed towards the front. In an instant, it covered the 3 people and brought them out. These people were none other than Xiu Luoyu and the other 2 from the Shura clan. Their eyes were closed, and their faces were pale. There was no aura on them. This caused Lin Xian to frown. Could it be that he had already fallen? Was he still a step too late? No, the 3 of them weren't dead. The Hellfire Dragon said. Lin Xian was happy. Do you know what happened to them? Lin Xian had already checked. These people didn't seem to be injured, but they didn't have any aura. The Hellfire Dragon said that they had no souls. Their souls were taken away. That was why they couldn't wake up. No souls. Lin Xian frowned. The Hellfire Dragon said that humans had 3 souls and 7 spirits. They were all called souls, but there were still differences. One of their souls and one of their spirits were taken away. So it could be said that their souls weren't complete. Then where were they taken to? Hearing that the 3 of them weren't dead, and there was still hope, Lin Xian sighed in relief. The Hellfire Dragon thought about it, and said that it should be related to the blood river. Kid, are you sure you want to take the risk? Lin Xian said to try. At least he had to bring Xiu Luoyu back safely. He had no choice. He had promised the Shura princess. This was the only way for him to get out of the Shura ruins. Otherwise, he might be trapped here for the rest of his life, unable to return. Chapter 50:22. Lin Xian walked towards the blood river and stepped into it. In the next moment, he felt an endless, murderous aura surging towards him, as if it wanted to rot his body. At the same time, it affected his soul. Lin Xian snorted coldly. The 9 Yang divine body shone brightly, and endless sun runes appeared on his body. The heavenly secret divine eye in his eyes shone brightly, as if a god was looking down on the world. It was to resist the power of the blood river. Lin Xian walked towards the depths of the blood river, going against the current. After walking for about half a day, Lin Xian felt his soul shudder. He stopped. At this moment, there was an invisible force that wanted to take his soul away. Lin Xian furrowed his brows tightly. Perhaps it was this power that had caused Azura Yu and the others to fall unconscious. What should he do? His eyes shone with a terrifying light as he investigated. He wanted to find the source of this force, but he found that it was impossible. It was too mysterious. It seemed that he could only beat them at their own game. Lin Xian sat down cross-legged and took out the heaven-devouring jar. His body sat in the heaven-devouring jar. With half an extreme-grade weapon protecting his physique, Lin Xian didn't have to worry about anything. Next, the great dragon sword soul in Lin Xian's body shone brightly and merged with his soul. Then Lin Xian no longer blocked it. He followed the force, and his soul left his body. Then he quickly entered the depths of the blood river. In the depths of the blood river, there was a blood-colored pagoda. It was very small, only the size of a palm, and it shone with a demonic light. There were mysterious runes on it. The force that attracted the soul came from here. Lin Xian's soul looked at this scene and was shocked. In the next moment, he felt that he had entered the blood-colored pagoda. After entering, Lin Xian was surprised. The inside of the pagoda had its own space, and it was very strange. The inside of the pagoda also had a blood-colored aura, and there were blood-colored pillars one after another. On the pillars, there were numerous malevolent faces. They were all in extreme pain. Some were roaring crazily, while others were in despair and had lifeless eyes. Were these all souls? Lin Xian was shocked. The blood-red pagoda had actually collected so many souls. What was the other party trying to do? Who was the owner of the pagoda? Lin Xian didn't know any of this because Lin Xian was only a soul. Wang. At this moment, a brilliant light blossomed in all directions. On one of the blood-colored pillars, a blood-colored rune suddenly appeared. They joined together to form a blood-red chain that shot towards Lin Xian's soul. In an instant, it enveloped Lin Xian's soul and tried to pull him into the blood-colored pillar. Lin Xian furrowed his brows tightly. In the next moment, the corners of his mouth curled up as he snorted coldly. His soul blossomed, and a terrifying radiance blocked the blood-red chains. At the same time, he quickly used his soul to search. Soon, he discovered 3 ferocious faces in the stone pillar beside him. They were Xiu Luoyu and the other 2. Found it! The corners of Lin Xian's mouth curled up. It should be enough to take away one of their souls and one of their souls. Thinking of this, Lin Xian quickly flew to the front, wanting to awaken Xiu Luoyu's soul. However, at this moment, the blood-colored pillar was enraged, and it kept shaking. The blood-colored nomological laws on it condensed into chains, and once again swept towards Lin Xian. Dozens of blood-colored chains enveloped Lin Xian's soul. Lin Xian felt a great threat. He roared angrily and struck out a dragon-shaped sword chi, shattering the chains. With a clang, The dozens of chains around him were all shattered. Then Lin Xian attacked Azura Yu's stone pillar again, shattering the blood-colored stone pillar that Azura Yu was on. With a rumbling sound, the stone pillar shook and thousands of souls flew out from it. Their eyes shone brightly as they roared crazily. "Wake up!" Lin Xian's soul roared and enveloped Xiao Liu and the other two. The souls of the three of them regained their consciousness after a while. The next moment, they sucked in a breath of cold air. "Where are we? We're being attacked." They recalled what happened before and saw Lin Xian's soul. "It's you?" The three of them were shocked. "Are you trapped here too?" Their eyes were filled with despair. In their opinion, Lin Xian could only be suppressed here. However, Lin Xian said, "I'm here to save you. Come with me." With that, he waved his hand and retreated. Xiao Luoyu and the other two were stunned, but they quickly recovered and quickly followed. At this moment, a mournful roar sounded between heaven and earth. Then, the endless chains rushed over at high speed. Those souls wanted to resist, but they couldn't resist at all and were instantly suppressed. The shattered stone pillar condensed again, and the escaping souls were once again swallowed, turning into ferocious faces. The chains that filled the sky rushed towards Xiao Luoyu and the other two. Xiao Luoyu and the other two were filled with despair. Were they going to be suppressed again? They couldn't accept it. 36 chains enveloped them, wanting to take them away completely. At this moment, Lin Xian attacked again. The great dragon sword Qi flew out and slashed in all directions, shattering all 36 chains. "Let's go!" Lin Xian waved his hand again. Xiao Luoyu and the other two were stunned. Those terrifying chains of law were directly shattered. Heavens, how did he do it? These people looked at Lin Xian with their mouths agape. It seemed that Lin Xian wasn't captured at all. He was here to save them. Thinking of this, hope returned to their eyes. "Let's go!" Xiao Luoyu and the other two quickly followed. The blood-red pagoda was completely enraged and wanted to suppress Lin Xian and the others, especially Lin Xian. They attacked wildly. Lin Xian's scalp went numb. Although he had the great dragon sword spirit to protect his main soul, he couldn't fully activate it. He could only passively defend. Lin Xian looked at the three of them and said, "Your souls, don't resist." He struck out the dragon-shaped sword Qi and enveloped the souls of the three of them, bringing them to his side. Then he became one with the sword and flew quickly. In an instant, he tore open the void and arrived outside the blood-red pagoda. The pagoda was completely enraged. Two blood-red claws stretched out from the inside, covering the sky and covering the earth as they rushed over. These were skeletal claws. The red skeletal claws were abnormally strange. They easily pierced through the void. Lin Xian felt that his soul was about to split open. It was too terrifying. He used Shadowless Heaven's net, and his speed was extremely fast. In an instant, he was near the heaven-devouring jar. His soul and body merged. In the next moment, Lin Xian opened his eyes. The two red skeletal claws had already arrived in front of him and mercilessly slapped down. Clang! The two skeletal claws slapped the heaven-devouring jar, making an earth-shattering sound. The heaven-devouring jar was sent flying, and Lin Xian's blood was boiling. In the next moment, he shouted coldly. The heaven-devouring jar created a terrifying devouring vortex that swept in all directions. The skeletal claws attacked in all directions, but they were instantly devoured. Chapter 5023. The blood-colored skull shattered, emitting an earth-shattering sound. At the same time, the blood river in front of them surged crazily, and a low roar came from it. It seemed to be very angry. Lin Xian sneered and activated the heaven-devouring jar to the extreme. A boundless whirlpool swept forward, as if it was going to cover the entire blood river. The blood river gradually calmed down and no longer attacked Lin Xian. Lin Xian snorted and quickly left with the heaven-devouring jar. He came to a safe place, and with a wave of his hand, merged the 3 souls into Xiu Luoyu and the other 2. After a while, Xiu Luoyu and the other 2 opened their eyes. They were confused. Where was this place? Soon they came back to their senses and sat up one by one. Were we under attack? Who saved us? When they saw Lin Xian, their faces were filled with joy. It was you. You saved us. They naturally recognized Lin Xian, especially Xiu Luoyu, who had looked for Lin Xian before. He wanted Lin Xian to help him. However, the other party had mysteriously disappeared without a trace. Lin Xian asked, "Are you okay?" Xiu Luoyu and the other 2 shook their heads. "If you need help in the future, just ask." Lin Xian said, "You're too polite. Actually, it was your sister who asked me to look for you." With that, Lin Xian waved his hand and took out a token. When he saw the token, Xiu Luoyu was stunned. It was indeed his sister's token. He now trusted Lin Xian completely. Lin Xian asked, "What did you encounter before?" He was also very curious. Xiu Luoyu and the other 2 said, when they came to the blood river, they were about to cross it. At this time, an invisible force enveloped them, and then they were suppressed in the blood-colored pagoda. Lin Xian said, "This place is very strange. I'll take you away." "Okay." Xiu Luoyu's face was a little pale, but he did not refuse. After the previous experience, he knew that he could not come to this place for the time being. This time, if not for Lin Xian, he would have been dead for sure. Therefore, he didn't want to stay here any longer. The group returned. However, the process was not so smooth because this place was really too strange. When they returned, they encountered the red storm again. Lin Xian had seen the danger of the red storm before. Xiu Luoyu and the other 2's expressions changed drastically. Previously, they had not come in as a group. Instead, dozens of people came in. Other than the 3 of them, everyone else was enveloped by the bloody storm, and then it was torn to shreds. Therefore, when they saw this red storm, Xiu Luoyu and the other 2 were terrified and kept retreating. Lin Xian's face was also cold. Golden light flickered in his eyes, and he saw some figures inside. He knew that with their current strength it would be very difficult for them to pass through. Even if they could, they would have to pay a price. The Hellfire Dragon also said, "Kid, change your path." Lin Xian nodded and led Azure Yu and the others in another direction. That path was peaceful, but after walking for half a day, Lin Xian and the others stopped again. There was a figure in front of them, standing there with a saber on his back. He had 6 purple eyes on his body, and they were extremely strange, causing people's scalps to go numb. Everyone felt as if their souls were being torn apart, and even Lin Xian's pupils shrank. What a terrifying soul power. This person was definitely extremely powerful. Those 6 eyes looked towards Lin Xian and the others. Xiu Luoyu and the other 2 souls were about to shatter. Lin Xian's eyes flickered with a terrifying light, but he could only protect himself. Was he going to risk his life? Lin Xian grabbed the heaven-swallowing jar and prepared to attack. However, at this time, a cold laugh sounded, causing people's hair to stand on end. The man with 6 eyes in front of them also flashed and quickly dodged. He escaped. Xiu Luoyu and the others were shocked to be able to escape from such a powerful soul. How terrifying was the other party. Even Lin Xian's hair stood on end. In the next moment, they saw an old man walk over. This old man had red hair, and his face was withered like a zombie. However, Xiu Luoyu was instantly stunned, and his eyes turned red. "Ancestor!" he shouted. Although he did not know this person, that red hair was the symbol of the Azura clan. This old man was from the Azura clan. Xiu Luoyu and the others knelt on one knee, and their expressions were extremely respectful. The eyes of the old man in front of them flashed. He whispered to himself, "Become a god, become an immortal, become dust." Then he laughed strangely, turned around, and flew away. "Ancestor!" Xiao Luoyu and the others exclaimed. It seemed that their ancestor's condition was very strange. Lin Xian furrowed his brows tightly. What did this old man mean? It seemed that the old man was in despair, but the ancestor's strength was already very high, and even he was in despair. What was going on? He did not know the answer now, because the old man had already left. Lin Xian and the others continued on their way, and along the way they met a few more figures. They were all extremely old figures, and their origins and strength were shocking. However, at this moment, they were all in Death Valley, and what were they looking for? In the end, an extremely terrifying power was emitted from within. Those ancient figures all rushed over. Lin Xian and the others were shocked, and they also followed, wanting to see what was going on. They saw a large hall in front of them, and there was a black sun above the hall, burning continuously. It was carrying an extremely terrifying demonic aura. Meanwhile, an extremely terrifying light burst out from the eyes of those ancient figures. Attack! With a low shout, these people attacked one after another. Their target was that black sun. A great battle broke out in an instant, and it was extremely terrifying. Lin Xian and the others quickly retreated in fear. A battle of this level was not something they could fight against at all. They could only watch from afar. The black sun kept spinning, and there were black flames burning and sweeping in all directions. He alone had actually blocked the attacks of so many ancient figures. It was truly inconceivable. The black sun suddenly rushed down, directly blasting these ancient figures away. Those ancient figures spat out blood, their bodies were broken, and some were burning. For a moment, no one was able to stand. Was it that terrifying? Xiao Luoyu and the others were shocked. At this moment, a cold laugh came from the black sun. Become a god? Become an immortal? Why not become a demon? A terrifying voice echoed in the 9 heavens, and then it charged towards Lin Xian and the others. Xiao Luoyu and the others went crazy. Lin Xian's pupils dilated, and he instantly threw out the heaven-devouring jar. However, the black sun was even faster, and it enveloped him in an instant. Lin Xian's figure was covered by the black flames, and he disappeared. Chapter 5024. Lin Xian was also facing a great enemy. He felt a huge sense of danger. The other party was too fast, so fast that he couldn't react at all. Would his divine body be able to withstand such terrifying flames at the moment? He didn't know. He was even prepared to use the great dragon sword spirit and the power of the sword world. He wanted to split the black sun apart at all costs, but in the next moment he was stunned. He didn't make a move because he realized that the black flames didn't burn him at all. And this time, he came to a strange space surrounded by demonic aura. There was a black palace in front of him. The ancient great desolate Aeon was extremely extraordinary. In front of the palace, there was a figure that looked like a demon god. He was staring at Lin Xian. Lin Xian felt a chill down his spine. There was actually a space inside the black sun, and there was such a terrifying figure. Was he the one who defeated those ancient existences? You're here. The demon god-like figure spoke in a deep voice. Lin Xian's pupils constricted. What did that mean? The other party knew him? This was too unbelievable. How could the other party know him? He said, "Senior, please forgive me. I didn't mean to disturb Senior. I'll leave now. Young man, I've been waiting for you for a long time. You're finally here." The demonic figure spoke again. Lin Xian's face became extremely ugly. Was the other party really waiting for him? But This was too unbelievable. You know me? Who are you? Lin Xian asked coldly. I'm the Demon Emperor. The demon god-like figure spoke in a deep voice. Hearing this title, Lin Xian was even more shocked. Demon Emperor. Could this be a great emperor? He couldn't believe it. He wanted to ask the Hellfire Dragon, but he realized that his soul and body were suppressed here. The other party's gaze made him unable to move at all. He couldn't even use his weapon. The sword world couldn't ask either. Damn it, he's too strong. Is he really a great emperor? Lin Xian guessed that other than the great emperor, no one could make him feel such despair with just a gaze. I've deduced the secrets of the heavens and found out that there are guests from outer space, so I'm waiting here. Was the visitor from outer space referring to him? Lin Xian truly did not belong to the present. Instead, it came from 100,000 years later. If the other party could even deduce such a thing, Lin Xian now believed that the other party might really be a great emperor. However, why was the other party waiting for him? He voiced out his doubts. The demon emperor smiled. I have the Imperial Sutra. Are you willing to learn? Lin Xian was stupefied. The other party wanted to pass on the Imperial Sutra to him. Why? The devil emperor didn't reply. Instead, he asked again, Are you willing to learn? Lin Xian furrowed his brows tightly. In the current situation, the other party could kill him with a single glance. However, he didn't do so. This meant that he shouldn't be in any danger. In other words, the other party really wanted to impart the imperial scripture to him. Since that was the case, why not learn it? Lin Xian nodded and said, Junior is willing. Very good. The demon emperor laughed heartily. My imperial scripture is called the Illusion Demon Scripture, and I will impart it to you now. An extremely terrifying black light appeared in his eyes and surged into Lin Xian's eyes. Lin Xian felt his soul tremble. His heavenly secret divine eyes were about to resist. However, the other party's voice sounded. Don't resist. You can't resist it, and I won't harm you. Lin Xian controlled the power of the heavenly secret divine child and didn't resist. He felt that his soul was about to split open. There was indeed an extremely terrifying information that surged into his mind. Lin Xian felt that he was about to turn into a demon at this moment. After an unknown period of time, Lin Xian came back to his senses. His face was a little pale, but he was incomparably excited. There was an additional piece of information in his mind. It was the demon transformation scripture. Was it really the emperor's scripture? He had learned 2 types of great emperor's ultimate techniques. He knew that this kind of ultimate technique surpassed everything. It was really too terrifying. If he had the complete great emperor's ancient scripture, then he would no longer be afraid of the crown prince. Thank you, senior. Lin Xian cupped his fists and looked forward, incomparably grateful. All right, young man, it's time for you to leave. You and I are not fated yet. There will be a time when we meet again. The demon emperor waved his hand, and a force sent Lin Xian out. In the next moment, Lin Xian felt the world spinning. When he reappeared, he was already in the main hall outside. The ancient figures outside had long left. Only Xiu Luoyu and the other 2 were still waiting. Their faces were pale. Could it be that Lin Gongzi had already died? They couldn't imagine that their benefactor, who had saved them before, had died like this. As for them, it was very likely that they would also die here. But in the next moment, they discovered that the black sun had appeared again. Then a figure flew out. Who was it? They were facing a great enemy. However, when they were talking about Lin Xian, they were all happy. Lin Gongzi, you're fine. That's great. Xiu Luoyu and the other 2 walked for a while, their faces full of excitement. Lin Gongzi, what did you experience? What kind of magic did the black sun have? Lin Xian shook his head. I don't know. I fainted. Lin Xian wouldn't tell them about something as important as the Imperial Sutra. He said, Let's go quickly. Xiu Luoyu and the other two nodded. At this moment, the black sun in the sky shot out a ball of black flames that swept into the distance. Everywhere it passed, the terrifying aura disappeared. The ancient figures, the red storm, and the strange laughter were all gone. Lin Xian took a deep breath. He knew that the demon emperor was opening a path for him. He said, "Let's go quickly. There's only one chance." The few of them turned into streaks of light and flew quickly. They didn't encounter any obstacles along the way. There was no danger. Finally, they left the Valley of Death. After they came out, Lin Xian heaved a sigh of relief. Xiao Luoyu and the other two felt as if a lifetime had passed. If it weren't for Lin Xian, they probably wouldn't have been able to come out in this lifetime. "Lin Gongzi, please come back to the Shura clan with me. I must thank you greatly." Lin Xian nodded. "I can also explain to your sister." The group returned to the Shura clan. When they came back, the Shura princess was beaming with joy. "Brother, you're back. It's great." She smiled beautifully. Xiao Luoyu said, "It's all thanks to this Lin Gongzi's help." Lin Gongzi. The Shura princess looked at Lin Xian and nodded. "Thank you," Lin Xian said. "You can return the token to the princess." The princess took the token, then took out 3 treasure boxes and gave them to Lin Xian. She said, "Thank you for bringing my brother out of the Valley of Death. Sir, please accept these gifts." Lin Xian was confused. He took them and opened them. Suddenly, a voice sounded in his mind. "Damn, it's this thing." Lin Xian frowned. It was the Hellfire Dragon's voice. He asked, "You're too excited. I'm dizzy." "Kid, do you know what this is?" "This is the hourglass of time. It can allow you to travel through time." "This is a heaven-defying thing." Lin Xian gasped. "The hourglass of time. Does it have the power of time? Doesn't that mean he can go back to the past or even the future?" Chapter 50-25. Lin Xian was delighted to know the use of the hourglass. He carefully put it away. Then he said, "Thank you, Princess. Lin Gongzi, I want to thank you properly. I want to set up a grand banquet." Shura, you also smiled and invited Lin Xian in. Lin Xian didn't refuse. He stayed for a few days and then left. "Lin Gongzi, if you have time, you must come and find me." Shura, you waved. Lin Xian nodded but sighed in his heart, because he already knew the fate of these people. In a few more years, these people would probably suffer a devastating blow, and he couldn't do anything because it couldn't be changed. With a sigh, Lin Xian turned and left. When his figure disappeared, the torrent of time appeared under his feet. The next moment, he left again and returned to reality. With a flash, Lin Xian appeared in the ruins. The Hellfire Dragon sword flew over. He said, "Damn, kid, you're finally back. Where did you go? I thought you died." A series of questions stunned Lin Xian. Did he really come back? Did he really experience what happened 100,000 years ago? Or was it just a dream? He quickly checked. He found that the 3 hourglasses were still there. At the same time, there was a black ancient scripture in his mind. Demon summoning scripture. All of this meant that he really went back 100,000 years ago, and it wasn't a dream. It wasn't an illusion either. Coming back to his senses, Lin Xian looked at the Hellfire Dragon sword and put it away. Then he said, "We'll talk about this later." Lin Xian had already fulfilled Princess Shura's wish. Then he should be able to walk out of the ruins. Closing his eyes, Lin Xian followed his senses and walked forward. This time, the fog in front of him disappeared. Lin Xian walked for a day and finally walked out. When he opened his eyes, he found that he was already outside the ruins. Was he out? Lin Xian was overjoyed, and the Hellfire Dragon sword flew out again, his face full of shock. "What the F***CK? Kid, you really came out." Lin Xian scanned his surroundings, but there was no one around. He frowned. He wondered if Monkey King had come out. One had to know that he had gone in together with Sun Qiqian. Now that he had come out, it could only mean one thing. Is he still inside? He had searched for them before, but he couldn't find any trace of them, because it contained the power of time. He and Sun Qiqian might have entered different streams of time. That was probably why they couldn't find him. Taking a deep breath, Lin Xian decided to use the hourglass of time to find Sun Qiqian. At this moment, the Hellfire Dragon advised, "Kid, don't waste such a precious thing." That monkey had an extraordinary background. It was very likely that he was a descendant of the great emperor. Therefore, he definitely had the ability to come out. Lin Xian was stunned. The Hellfire Dragon knew about the hourglass of time. He wanted to ask the Hellfire Dragon. At this moment, the Fire Dragon's sword said again, "There's no need to ask. This sword is a part of my body. The sword is me, and I am the sword. If there's anything, you can ask the Fire Dragon sword directly." Lin Xian squinted his eyes. There was indeed something wrong with the Hellfire Dragon. It didn't say these things before, and only said it now. It seemed like it believed him a little. All right, let the Hellfire Dragon stay inside. With the sword outside, it would be easier for him to control it. Therefore, he asked again, "Let me ask you, have you heard of the Demon Emperor?" Since the Hellfire Dragon said that Sun Qiqian wasn't in danger, Lin Xian was relieved. He also believed that with Sun Qiqian's strength, it was only a matter of time before he came out. Therefore, he quickly asked the other question in his heart. After the Hellfire Dragon's sword heard it, it was shocked too. Demon Emperor. Indeed, it had heard of him. An expert from the demon world. He had also become a great emperor. He was invincible, but he had fallen long ago. Was he really a great emperor? Lin Xian was shocked. A great emperor from 100,000 years ago couldn't have survived until now. Even with the elixir of immortality, it wouldn't have worked. That meant that the illusion devil scripture in his mind, it was the great emperor's ancient scripture. He was overjoyed. Next, he could finally cultivate the real emperor's scripture. Thinking of this, his body flashed, and he walked far away. At this time, a killing sword swept towards him. Lin Xian snorted and punched the killing sword away. His face was gloomy. "Get out." For figures walked out from the surroundings and said, "That's right. Brat, when did you appear? We have been guarding this place for a long time. No one can enter. Only people can leave. That means you didn't even come in. You walked out from the ruins in front. That was the Azure Ruins, a place of death. No one could come out alive after entering. But you came out. How did you do it?" They were really too shocked. Their eyes were red. The Azure race was said to be an extremely powerful ancient race. Later on, they were destroyed. But there were definitely endless secrets left in the ruins. It was just that no one who went in could come out, so these secret treasures and inheritances couldn't be brought out. But now, someone had actually managed to walk out of it. Then, what did he get? The Azure race's treasures, cultivation techniques, or inheritances? These were all supreme treasures. They all wanted to get their hands on them. Lin Xian sneered. "Threatening me? I'll give you a chance. Get out, or I'll send you to hell. You're courting death." The man roared angrily. His ice-killing sword bloomed with billions of rays of light and attacked again. In an instant, it enveloped Lin Xian and cut Lin Xian in half. "You're just an ant. You just had a special way to come out. But in terms of true strength, even 10,000 of you combined would not be a match for me." The middle-aged man snorted with a disdainful expression. In the next moment, he was stunned. That was because the figure he had hacked apart had turned into green smoke and disappeared. This meant that the other party was just an illusion. Where was the other party's real body? He wanted to turn around. In the next moment, a beam of sword light sent his head flying. Lin Xian used Shadowless Heaven's net to dodge this sword. Now that he attacked, he killed an expert instantly. Ants? I think you're the ants. Lin Xian sneered. The middle-aged man didn't die. His head flew over and roared crazily. Damn it! Kill him! With a roar, his body quickly reassembled. The other 3 people also charged over. The bodies of these 4 people turned into soul-like existences, covering all directions. A terrifying aura swept over, making even sages want to crawl. It was too terrifying. Lin Xian frowned. What kind of secret technique was this? At this moment, the Hellfire Dragon Sword said that they were from the undead race, the terrifying primordial race. Lin Xian snorted after hearing this. So what if they were from the undead race? He held the Hellfire Dragon Sword and used the Azura Sword technique. A sword flew out. In an instant, 4 heads flew up again. Ultimate kill. Chapter 5026. Their eyes were filled with despair. Had they been killed by a single sword strike? But the other party was too strong. They recognized that the other party had used the Great Emperor's mystique, the Azura Sword technique. This person was a top-notch assassin. They had been careless, but they were not satisfied. Kid, if you kill us, you will definitely die. Even if you cultivate the Azura Sword technique, you are no match for the undead tribe. Death, Soul Melody. The 4 powerhouses of the Undead Spirit Clan activated their forbidden technique at the last moment. A hellish sound rang between heaven and earth. It was extremely strange and enveloped Lin Xian. Lin Xian snorted and slashed with his sword. But these sounds were invisible and could not be destroyed. Just as he was about to use the power of the Great Dragon Sword Soul to destroy them, he realized that the sounds had strangely disappeared. Playing tricks. Lin Xian snorted. Hellfire Dragon Sword. Speaking of which, kid, you have been targeted by them. Once the Death Soul Melody is used, it is a kill order. The undead tribe will find you according to the Death Soul Melody. Even if you escape to the ends of the earth, they will still be able to kill you. Something like this had happened before. Someone had provoked the undead tribe and was used the Death Soul Melody. This person had left this starry sky and went to another world. In the end, he was still found by the undead tribe. In the end, his soul was destroyed, and his ending was very tragic. I advise you to be careful. No matter how strong you are, you can't fight against an ancient tribe member. Moreover, the undead tribe is a very terrifying existence in the underworld. After hearing this, Lin Xian frowned. He was surprised that there was such a method. Around the period it took an incense stick to burn, a figure appeared in the distance. This figure was without a trace and suddenly appeared behind Lin Xian. At the same time, a gray flag covered him. Ant, you dare to kill the undead tribe. I will make you suffer a fate worse than death. The gray flag released an extremely terrifying aura of death that could take away one's life. Lin Xian snorted coldly. Were the Dead Spirit Clan still lingering around? Then don't blame me. He struck out with a palm, turning into a fearless lion that tore through the 9 heavens. The gray flag was torn apart and shattered on the spot. Then Lin Xian swung his sword, the Hellfire Dragon Sword turning into an afterimage, piercing towards his opponent. Clang! An earth-shattering sound rang out as the surrounding void started to shatter. It was as though the world was about to be destroyed. The 2 figures retreated. Lin Xian's arm felt a little numb, and he frowned. On the other side, the expert from the Undead Spirit Clan had an extremely ugly expression on his face. They had just exchanged blows, and one of his treasures had already shattered. If he hadn't taken out his trump card, he would have been dead for sure. It was a large red cauldron that had blocked the attack just now. However, at this moment, there was actually a sword mark on it, causing his heart to bleed. Damn it, I want you dead. He roared crazily. He waved the cauldron and charged over. Countless vengeful spirits flew out from the cauldron, blotting out the sky and enveloping Lin Xian. Lin Xian snorted coldly as he continued to use his ultimate techniques. At the same time, he activated the 9-yang divine body to the extreme. Flames of extreme yang flew out, sweeping away the vengeful spirits. The vengeful spirits were enveloped by the flames and quickly retreated, unable to get close at all. Lin Xian sneered. The undead spirit clan is only SOSO. You want to kill me? You're still far from it. Damn it. The undead spirit clan's expression turned ugly, and the expert shouted angrily. He took out a rune and a small figure, pasted it on it, and said, "Curse of the undead." As he spoke, he slashed the rune man with his sword. Cracks appeared on the rune man's body, and at the same time, a crack appeared on Lin Xian's body. With a crack, his body shattered, and sacred blood flowed out from it. Damn it, what's going on? Lin Xian was shocked. The opponent didn't attack him just now, right? The attack was too sudden. He couldn't react in time. The Hellfire Dragon's sword said, "Kid, this is the most terrifying part of the undead spirit clan. Curse, when he attacked the Rune Man, he was attacking you." Damn it, there was such a thing. Lin Xian was dumbfounded. The opponent didn't even need to attack him to hurt him. His method was too strange. But he was also angry. His face darkened, and he shouted coldly. He used Shadowless Heaven's net, and his speed was extremely fast. With a slash of the sword, it could destroy heaven and earth. The undead spirit clan elder sneered, and quickly retreated. He didn't fight Lin Xian head-on. At the same time, he slapped the rune. One of the Rune Man's arms was shattered. Lin Xian felt that the bones in his sword-wielding hands were shattered. An invisible force enveloped him. This sword strike was broken. Ha ha! Seeing that Lin Xian was injured again, the undead spirit clan elder laughed loudly. "Kid, now you know how powerful the undead spirit clan is. You want to fight against us? Stupid. Damn it." Lin Xian's face was cold. The Hellfire Dragon said to leave quickly. Lin Xian frowned. He didn't even need to attack me to hurt me. If I leave, won't I die for sure? The Hellfire Dragon said that although the undead spirit clan's curse was powerful, it couldn't be used indefinitely, or else the entire universe would be theirs. Once this thing was used, it would be punished by the heavenly lightning. The more curses one used, the more heavenly lightning punishment one would receive. So unless it was a last resort, they wouldn't use it easily. Lin Xian took a deep breath. He understood. It was a taboo. No wonder. If there weren't any restrictions, the entire underworld would have been the undead spirit clans. The Hellfire Dragon said again. Also, this kind of attack could only be used on those weaker than oneself, or those on the same level. It was possible to surpass one's level, but it couldn't surpass too much power. If a saint wanted to curse a great emperor, he would probably be killed by the great emperor's power. So that's how it was. Lin Xian completely understood. In front of absolute power, any method was useless. Power, he wanted great power. Kid, it's useless. This sword knows a lot, but so what? To kill you, although I will take the risk, it's worth it. Also, do you think you can escape? As he spoke, he slapped the Rune Man in his hand again. Lin Xian's pupils shrank. With a cold shout, the great dragon sword spirit flew out and surrounded him. It formed a terrifying sword Dao domain. Boom boom. Dang. The Rune Man was torn into pieces. The undead spirit elder sneered. Kid, let's see how you'll die this time. His previous 2 attacks were effective. This time, his opponent would definitely be torn into pieces. He wanted to heavily injure him first, then bring him back to his family and torture him to death. He wanted to let him know the consequences of offending them and the undead spirit clan. A terrifying power covered the front. The elder sneered as he watched. But in the next moment, his pupils shrank, and he exclaimed, "How is that possible?" Chapter 5027. In his opinion, Lin Xian would definitely be torn apart, but he didn't see such a scene. Lin Xian was unscathed, standing there with a sneer on his face. No, damn it, how was this possible? The old man of the undead clan was stunned. Had his forbidden martial arts lost its effect? This was impossible. He could clearly feel that there was an additional trace of the aura of the lightning tribulation in his body. In other words, he would be punished by the heavenly lightning. This meant that his martial arts were effective. But why wasn't the body of the person in front of him broken? Could it be related to those sword chi? He stared ahead. There were many dragon-shaped sword chi around Lin Xian, like giant dragons roaring towards the sky and cutting through heaven and earth. That's right, these were the dragon-shaped sword chi of the great dragon sword soul. The great dragon sword soul's attack was unparalleled and could cut through everything. Although the curse cast by the other party was extremely strange, Lin Xian could cut through it and was in an invincible position. Damn it, this kid was too strange. The old man of the undead clan roared towards the sky. In the distance, 3 more figures flew over. The 4 great experts froze heaven and earth. Their cold eyes stared at Lin Xian. In addition, the other 3 people were also holding strange weapons. With the undead clan flag, they seemed to be able to take away a person's soul. The 4 great experts besieged Lin Xian together. Lin Xian furrowed his brows tightly. He didn't attack again, because the attacks of these 4 people were very strange, and he had more important things to do. He had obtained the illusion fiend scripture. He naturally wanted to cultivate the inheritance technique of the great emperor as soon as possible. Thinking of this, Lin Xian's figure flashed and flew into the distance. Kid, do you want to leave? The experts of the undead clan attacked crazily. However, Lin Xian waved his hand, and a sharp sword chi sent one of them flying. That person was instantly split in half, and the other scalps went numb. So terrifying? Chase. Kill him. This kid must have a treasure on him. The 4 great experts attacked again. However, at this time, the old man of the undead clan who attacked first screamed. Lightning gathered in his body, and a bolt of lightning fell from the sky, charring him black. Damn it, he didn't dare to give chase anymore. He used all his strength to resist the heavenly lightning. The other 3 people also stopped when they saw this scene. Damn it, could it be that this brat wanted him to escape? Don't worry, he can't escape. He's under the influence of the necromancer's melody. We can track him down. Help me get through the heavenly lightning first. The undead spirit old man who had attacked earlier gritted his teeth and said he felt that his life was in danger. The other 3 also helped out. On the other side, Lin Xian used Shadowless Heaven's net and quickly left, but he still underestimated the necromancer. This kind of thing was very strange. No one else could sense it. However, the undead spirit clan could clearly sense it. At this moment, Lin Xian was like a bright light in the dark night in their eyes. It was very clear. Not only that, but the faces of the undead spirit clan also became extremely strange. This was because they realized that their target was flying toward one of their palaces. Did this guy just walk right into the trap? These people began to set up in secret, forming all kinds of formations. There were also experts hiding, preparing to give the other party a fatal blow. Lin Xian didn't know that the direction he was heading toward was the territory of the Four Spirits clan. It wasn't the headquarters of the other party's clan, but it could be considered a powerful palace. There were many experts and formations inside. When he arrived at this place, he realized that the situation was not right. There was an extremely terrifying aura around him, full of murderous intent. At the same time, countless figures appeared. These people looked similar to spirits. It was extremely strange. The aura on their bodies was cold. Ha ha, brat, you actually dare to come to our palace. Do you want to die? The members of the undead spirit clan laughed heartily. Lin Xian's brows furrowed tightly. It seemed that he had come to the wrong place. This was actually the other party's palace. But so what? Lin Xian's eyes burst with an extremely cold light. Was it a palace? Then destroy it. He waved his hand, took out the Hellfire Dragon Sword, and slashed forward. With a clang, the sky was cut in half. A great saint of the undead spirit clan was instantly split open and fell to the ground. The surrounding people were stunned. The other party was so strong. He killed a great saint on their side with one move. Damn it, these people's faces were ugly. They gritted their teeth. You actually dare to attack us. Kill him. These people were crazy. This was their territory. Shouldn't the other party kneel down and beg for mercy in fear? Activate the formation. The undead spirit clan roared angrily. The surrounding formations flickered, and they rushed over in an overwhelming manner. Die, brat. They sneered ferociously. With such a terrifying attack, the other party would definitely die. However, this time they had made a big mistake. Lin Xian waved the Hellfire Dragon Sword, striking out a terrifying dragon-shaped sword chi. At the same time, he took out the sky-devouring jar and swallowed it in all directions. The surrounding formations continued to shatter. Not a single attack landed in front of him. Lin Xian's eyes bloomed with a terrifying light. The fire of reincarnation was activated. More than a dozen great saints of the undead spirit clan died in an instant. The surrounding people went crazy. What was going on? There were so many of them, but they couldn't do anything to a young man. Who was this young man? He was too terrifying. At this time, Lin Xian struck out the first sword of the Azura sword technique. In an instant, 5 figures were split apart. Damn it, those people fought back crazily. Lin Xian's figure swayed, and Shadowless Heaven's net instantly dodged. Then he struck out again, the second sword of the Azura sword technique. This time, more than a dozen figures were split apart instantly. Damn it, what a terrifying killing move. This was the Azura sword technique. He was a top-notch killer. The surrounding people went crazy. At this time, the 4 people who attacked Lin Xian previously also returned, especially the Rune Elder. When he saw Lin Xian killing in all directions, he was dumbfounded. Damn it, what was going on? This brat actually killed his way into their palace? He even killed dozens of great saints. Damn it, their eyes instantly turned red. Quickly activate the forbidden martial arts. The old man roared. Instantly, someone took out a rune man. They kept attacking Lin Xian. Lin Xian roared angrily and summoned the great dragon sword soul. He operated the power of the sword world and swept it in all directions. Under one attack, the rune men in the hands of those people were all shattered. Many people suffered the backlash. They vomited blood and were sent flying. Their faces were filled with madness. What kind of scene was this? A young man had swept away a group of powerhouses. It was too unbelievable. Not good. He has a supreme treasure in his hands. It's not something we can fight against. Go and invite the Dead Souls Abyss over. The Dead Souls Abyss was the #1 genius of the Dead Souls clan. At the same time, he was also an extremely terrifying great saint. His strength was unparalleled. As long as he appeared, he could definitely suppress this brat in front of him. Lin Xian snorted coldly and strode over. He looked into the distance. There was a large flag there. There was an extremely terrifying soul aura on it. This should be an extremely terrifying soul treasure. Not only that, there was a trace of reincarnation power on it. It was a reincarnation rune. Chapter 5028. Stop. Seeing Lin Xian walking toward the rune flag, the surrounding undead spirits roared crazily. Lin Xian ignored them. The surrounding people gritted their teeth in anger, but no one dared to act rashly. The method that the other party used before was too terrifying. Young man, You're too arrogant. Do you really think you can behave atrociously here? A cold voice sounded. This is the palace of the undead spirit clan. Our foundation is not something you can imagine. A woman in a black robe walked out. Her face was cold, and her eyes were filled with killing intent. Protector, the undead spirits exclaimed, and then their faces were filled with joy. Great, the protector of the palace is here. This kid is dead meat. Lin Xian smiled. Kneel down and submit, or I'll destroy your soul. He pointed his sword forward with infinite domineering aura. You'll regret it. You're courting death. The black-robed woman snorted. She waved her hand and took out a small flag. She shook it gently, and suddenly the surrounding sky and earth cracked. Gray fog filled the air and spread out in all directions. Soon, it enveloped the entire palace. Undead spirit blood killing array. Many elders exclaimed, and soon they sneered. This array was not ordinary. It could be said to be a peerless array. Once used, it would consume a lot of energy. It could be said that it would not be used easily unless it was a matter of life and death. Now that it's used, this kid won't be able to resist it no matter how strong he is. A peerless killing array. Lin Xian's face was cold. Is this your trump card? His eyes were filled with disdain. Yes, it's a peerless killing array. Once you enter, no one will be able to escape. You'll definitely die. Outside the palace, the other people of the underworld trembled in fear when they saw this scene. Heavens, the palace of the undead spirit clan actually activated such a peerless array. What happened? Is there a sneak attack by a strong enemy? It shouldn't be. I didn't see a large group of experts coming. Exclamations sounded one after another. However, they knew that no matter who the enemy was, once the array was activated, no one would be able to escape. The old man from before walked out and laughed coldly. Brat, you're not his match at all. Now, kneel on the ground obediently and hand over all your secrets and treasures. We can give you a chance to live. They would never forget that Lin Xian had walked out of the Azure ruins. There must be a secret on him, and they must get it. Lin Xian snorted coldly. A mere array formation gave you such confidence? What a joke. I've already said that this array formation can't do anything to me. The black-robed woman was thoroughly enraged. Since the other party was courting death, she would not hold back. He formed hand seals, and the surrounding dead spirit blood-killing array started to churn rapidly. Then 36 dead spirit phantoms appeared. Each of them held a sword of slaughter in their hands. They were incomparably terrifying, and there was a sea of blood around them. This scene could really destroy a world. Young man, cherish your life. If you die, you will have nothing left. Only by being alive would there be hope. So, just tell the secret obediently. Cold laughter rang out. Lin Xian waved his Hellfire Dragon sword and pointed it forward. Words were useless. Let's fight. He slashed out with his sword. The fire dragon danced in the air, and the sword Qi slashed forward. It was useless. The black-robed woman had completely activated the array formation. 36 dead spirit phantoms stood tall. They held the sword of slaughter in their hands and swept through the 9 heavens. In an instant, the void around Lin Xian shattered continuously. It's over. The dead spirit clan sneered. Lin Xian took a deep breath. The great dragon sword, soul gushed out, as if it had merged with the Hellfire Dragon sword. The Hellfire Dragon sword burst out with extremely terrifying hellfire. Lin Xian took a deep breath and slashed out with his sword. Azura sword technique, second sword. The great dragon sword soul and the power of the sword world made this sword extremely powerful. It was like a divine dragon attacking, slashing forward. The surrounding sea of blood kept shattering. The 36 dead spirit phantoms were also fiercely attacked. Their figures became dim. as if they were about to shatter. No. When the surrounding elders of the undead spirit clan saw this scene, they became incomparably terrified. What did they see? Could it be that their peerless array formation was about to shatter? It was all because of the other party's sword. Damn it, what kind of sword technique was this? It was too strong. What kind of trump card did this young man have? They couldn't believe it. The black-robed woman's face also turned pale. Her eyes were filled with deep shock. To be honest, she didn't put Lin Xian in her eyes at all. In her opinion, he was just an ant. There was nothing to be afraid of. But now she realized that she was wrong. The other party was like a sword god descending to the mortal world. The power of this sword was something their array formation couldn't withstand at all. Even the entire palace was about to be split in half. How could he know that Lin Xian didn't hold back in this attack? The Azura sword technique was a great emperor's ability. The great dragon sword soul's attack was unparalleled. In addition to the power provided by the sword world, the power of this sword absolutely surpassed everything. The 36 dead spirit phantoms retreated, and a huge crack appeared between heaven and earth. The entire array became dim and lightless, and countless cracks appeared all around it. The dead spirit clan elders all vomited blood and retreated. Under this attack, it seemed that only Lin Xian stood there unscathed. I've said it before, your array formation can't do anything to me. Lin Xian's cold voice sounded. It made the dead spirit clan despair. The black-robed woman's eyes were also filled with despair. However, she soon stared at the other party. To be exact, it was the sword shadow in the other party's hand. Flames flickered on it, and the shadow of a dragon circled it. Kid, the sword in your hand should be a super powerful weapon, right? No wonder you can withstand my peerless array formation. But so what? Our array formation uses the power of heaven and earth. It's our foundation. Once it's activated, we consume very little power. But what about you? You should have used all of your strength when you struck out with that sword, right? Do you still have the strength to strike a second time? It had to be said that this black-robed woman was indeed a top expert. In an instant, he discovered the crux of the problem. In his opinion, Lin Xian was nothing to be afraid of. Lin Xian had a peerless weapon in his hand, which was why he was able to contend with their array formation. And a peerless weapon required too much power. With the other party's strength, it would be very difficult for him to strike out again. Thinking of this, she sneered. Although the process was somewhat tortuous, the result was destined. The other party would die without a doubt. The black-robed woman's face was filled with madness. She kept forming seals. In the surroundings, the broken array formation flickered once again. The power of the Earth's spirit veins was quickly absorbed. The 36 dead spirit phantoms, which were originally dim and broken, condensed once again. The blood-colored swords in their hands became incomparably terrifying. They turned into a sea of blood one after another, surging between heaven and earth. A terrifying aura once again spread out. Chapter 50-29. Lin Xian was expressionless. The other party was indeed strong, a top-notch expert. He was able to discover the crux of the problem in an instant. However, the other party underestimated him too much. This sword strike of his used the power of the sword world, and it did not consume much energy. Therefore, of course, he was able to unleash a second strike. However, he did not want to use the power of the sword world too much. This was not good for the development of the world itself, so he was prepared to take out another trump card. Heaven's swallowing jar. It was said to be able to swallow even heaven and earth. At this moment, Lin Xian was prepared to use it. With a wave of his hand, a black jar appeared in his hand. The woman in black laughed out loud when she saw this scene. What? Are you in despair? You want to use this broken jar to fight against me? In his opinion, that jar was pitch black, and did not have any power at all. How could it be a peerless treasure? Go to hell! The undead roared. The 36 Reaper phantoms roared towards the sky, emitting a terrifying sound. It was as if they wanted to tear this world apart. The surrounding people felt their souls being violently impacted. This power was truly too terrifying. In an instant, Lin Xian was enveloped by the roar of the undead. The place he was at had completely turned into a chaotic void. Humph, it's finally settled. The woman in black snorted. She did not expect that she would have to use so many methods to deal with an ant. This time, they had consumed too many resources. Next, their undead race would have to go out and snatch other people's treasures in order to recover. Sigh, what a pity the Azura's secret was unknown. The elders also shook their heads and sighed. However, to be able to kill such a potential enemy was considered extremely fortunate for them. Just when everyone thought that the matter was over, a vortex suddenly appeared in the shattered void. It spun rapidly, swallowing all the roars of the undead. Following that, endless black vortexes appeared in all directions. Several experts of the undead race were instantly engulfed, letting out miserable cries. In the next moment, blood filled the air from the vortex. What was going on? Damn it, what was this? What exactly were these black vortexes? As soon as they arrived, cries of alarm could be heard. The people of the undead race all went crazy and became terrified. Could it be that other than this kid, there was another expert here? The undead spirit elder from before roared crazily. He saw a black vortex coming towards him. He roared angrily, releasing a terrifying attack. Heaven overflowing natural laws swept out, but they were all swallowed up. His scalp went numb. He had never seen such a strange thing before. Protector. They all looked at the woman in black, seeking help. The black-clothed woman's face also darkened. What was going on? That brat was already dead. Who was it that was still trying to kill him? He shouted coldly. Who are you? Come out and meet me. I advise you to stop immediately. Otherwise, you will offend my undead spirit clan. No matter where you go, you won't be able to escape death. You're really stupid. You can't even recognize me? In the void, a figure walked out of the vortex. Everyone raised their heads to look, and they were stunned. The woman in black exclaimed, It's you? Impossible. Aren't you already dead? He was truly stunned. This was the brat he had killed before. The other party didn't die. Could it be that these black vortexes were created by the other party? Damn it! Where did the other party get such a powerful trump card? Stupid things. I've said it before. You're no match for me at all. But you didn't listen. Since you're courting death, don't blame me. Lin Xian shouted coldly. He held the black jar in his hand and shook it gently. Suddenly, the vortex expanded crazily, as if it was going to swallow the entire world. The sea of blood in the sky kept disappearing. The 36 phantoms of the Grim Reaper were also shattered. It was as if a giant beast was biting them crazily. No, seeing the phantoms of the undead disappear, the woman in black finally panicked. She felt that the power of the array was also being swallowed. The array was shattered into pieces. The sky-swallowing jar was half an apex weapon. Although it was incomplete, Lin Xian could display earth-shattering power by using a little of its power. At this moment, Lin Xian was using the sky-swallowing jar to devour everything. Outside the undead spirit palace, countless people were watching. When they saw the phantoms of the Grim Reaper and the sea of blood, they knew that everything was over. Those powerful enemies had all fallen. They were ready to leave and no longer pay attention. However, all of a sudden, they stopped abruptly and turned their heads to look. Their faces were filled with shock. Damn it, what's going on? Where did the vortex come from? What's that black vortex? Could it be an array of the undead spirit clan? It shouldn't be. Wasn't it already over? Exclamations sounded one after another. In the next moment, they investigated and were horrified to find that the vortex was devouring the vortex. The array formed by the undead spirit clan was quickly being devoured. These people were terrified. Could it be that the enemies were still alive? Heavens, this is too terrifying. What kind of existence did the undead spirit clan provoke this time? In the palace, the elders of the undead spirit clan were in despair. Even the protector's body was trembling. He had lived for thousands of years and had swept across the world, looking down on everything. He had never seen such a powerful enemy, not to mention that the other party was just a young man. How could the other party be so powerful? Could it be that the other party was the legendary crown prince? No, there were too few crown princes. They wouldn't come here alone. The protector shook his head. He felt despair. At this moment, it was just a palace. Was there anyone in the undead spirit clan who could contend against the other party alone? He thought of the number one genius of the undead spirit clan, the dead spirit's abyss. Perhaps the dead spirit's abyss could kill the other party. This was their only hope. Other than that, unless they mobilized a force stronger than this palace, they would have to be 10 times stronger to be able to kill the other party. Between heaven and earth, the black vortex was still devouring. In the end, all 36 phantoms were devoured. The entire protective array was shattered into pieces. The black-clothed woman vomited blood and fell to the ground. Her face became incomparably pale. She was the protector of the palace. When the array was shattered, she was severely injured. At this moment, she was extremely weak. She was not far from death. Protector! The surrounding undead spirit clan members roared crazily. They knelt on the ground. They could not imagine that the most powerful protector of the palace would be defeated. Who could contend against the other party? Could it be that their end was coming? The black-clothed woman stood up with difficulty and gritted her teeth. I've lost this time. The grudge between us is written off. You can leave now. Lin Xian laughed after hearing this. Written off? If my trump card was a little weaker, I'm afraid I would have died here long ago. Now you're telling me to write off everything? Don't you think you're too naive? Chapter 50-30. What do you want? The woman in black roared crazily. She had already lowered her head and admitted defeat. Was he still going to continue? What do I want? Lin Xian sneered. Have you been high and mighty for too long? Have you forgotten how to beg for mercy? Lin Xian snorted coldly. His body emitted a terrifying law that swept in all directions. He looked ahead and sneered. If you want to beg for mercy, you should look like you are begging for mercy. Kneel down, kowtow 3 times and kowtow 9 times, and beg for mercy. The woman in black was so angry that she spat out a mouthful of blood. Kowtow 3 times and kowtow 9 times? What kind of joke was this? She shouted angrily. Kid, don't go too far. Although you won, this is only the palace of the undead clan, not the headquarters. You won against me, but it doesn't mean you can win against the entire undead clan. You don't know how terrifying the undead clan is. Now that I'm letting you leave, I'm already doing you a huge favor. If you continue to be stubborn, you will die when the experts from the headquarters come. You still want to threaten me? Looks like you don't know what's good for you. Lin Xian snorted coldly. With a wave of his hand, the Hellfire Dragon sword flew out and slashed the woman in half. The power of the great dragon sword's spirit exploded and destroyed the other party's soul. With a scream, the woman in black turned into a bloody mist and no longer existed. Lin Xian waved his hand and grabbed the other party's storage ring. The others were all crazy. No, their eyes turned red. Their protector had actually fallen? Damn it, let's fight. The mighty ones of the undead spirit clan looked at Lin Xian and roared in a frenzy. For a moment, many people charged forward. Lin Xian snorted coldly. Azura sword technique. First sword. Second sword. The two swords struck out together. One by one, the space between the eyebrows of the figures was split open, and their souls were destroyed. In the blink of an eye, over 100 experts had fallen. The remaining people were facing a great enemy. The attacks of the few terrifying elders were all blocked by Lin Xian and dodged by Shadowless Heaven's net. Lin Xian seemed to have transformed into the god of death and blended into heaven and earth. Damn it, how did this happen? The undead spirit elder and the others were terrified, furious, and roaring. The other party was too strong. Apart from his super powerful trump card, his strength was top-notch. A top-notch movement technique and a top-notch killer move. Damn it. This was the ultimate technique of the Infernal Assassin organization. The other party was a terrifying killer saint. On top of that, he had mastered the two martial monarch arts to such a terrifying level. They couldn't believe it. Stop it, we give in. The undead elder who had attacked earlier roared. The others also stopped, lowered their heads, and said, "Let's go. We are no match for him. We admit defeat." Lin Xian looked around and sneered. "I've said it before. If he submitted, he had to act like he was submitting. He had to kneel down, kowtow, and admit defeat. Damn it, undead elder." And the others gritted their teeth and knelt down. They lowered their heads and said, "We admit defeat." Lin Xian swung his sword at the undead spirit elder, splitting him apart. His Tianji divine eyes shot out soul fire, burning the undead spirit elder. The undead spirit elder's heart and soul were destroyed. The others roared crazily. "Damn it, we have already admitted defeat. What else do you want?" Lin Xian swung his sword again. "Didn't I say that I won't kill you if you submit?" In an instant, two elders fell here. The surrounding people became terrified. This was a demon god, an existence they couldn't provoke. No one dared to resist anymore. They knelt on the ground and buried their heads deep in the ground. Lin Xian didn't kill these people. He formed a seal with his palms, and a pair of divine eyes appeared above the 9 heavens, looking down. Wherever his gaze passed, the seal of life and death appeared. He wanted to turn all these people into puppets. He controlled them. Damn it, these people felt the seal of life and death imprinted in their souls. They roared unwillingly. A few powerful elders wanted to resist, but they were swallowed by Lin Xian with the heaven-swallowing jar. They turned into blood water. The others couldn't resist at all. However, they still roared crazily. "You have offended the undead spirit clan. You are dead. Just you wait. The number 1 genius of the undead spirit clan, Dead Spirit Abyss, will kill you easily." Roars sounded one after another, and finally they all disappeared. These people knelt on the ground with respect in their eyes, looked at Lin Xian, and shouted, "Greetings, Lord." The corners of Lin Xian's mouth curled up. "Very well. Now send a signal to your number 1 genius, and then set up a killing array. When he comes back, kill him immediately after giving the order." The undead spirit clan began to move. Lin Xian flew forward. He looked at the rune flag. There was a mysterious rune on it which carried the power of reincarnation. However, it seemed to be the opposite. Against the 6 paths of reincarnation, the 6 paths of reincarnation could make people reincarnate. However, against the 6 paths of reincarnation, it could make people's souls drift between heaven and earth forever. They couldn't disappear at all. The undead spirit clan used this method to control countless undead spirits and used it as a means of attack. He could feel that there were countless souls in the whole flag. These were all resentful spirits that were deeply locked by this rune. Lin Xian said, "I know you all have resentment. Don't worry, I'll let you enter reincarnation. I'll take this rune away. However, you still have 1 chance to take revenge." I think it won't be long before the number 1 genius of the undead spirit clan arrives. At that time, whether you want to take revenge or not will be up to you." With that, Lin Xian's eyes flickered, and the power of reincarnation appeared. It began to dissolve the rune on the flag. In the end, the rune disappeared and was taken away by Lin Xian. Countless souls rushed out from inside, roaring at the sky. They looked at Lin Xian and kept worshipping him. "Thank you, benefactor. We definitely won't let that dead soul's abyss go." These people returned to the flag again and hid. Lin Xian left. Although he didn't know what the dead soul's abyss was, he had become a mortal enemy of the undead spirit clan. Since that was the case, he wouldn't hold back. This time, he would give the undead spirit clan a big gift. The dead soul's abyss was currently in the 3rd level of hell. As the number 1 genius of the undead spirit clan, he was very powerful. He was even confident that in this life, he could become a true great emperor. From then on, he could sweep through all the worlds. In the 3rd level of hell, he found an ancient tomb and fought against 2 organizations and sex alone. In the end, he defeated hundreds of people. He roared at the sky and shattered the cave with a palm, obtaining a few treasure boxes from inside. The corners of his mouth curled up, and the dead soul's abyss snorted coldly. "A bunch of ants, you're no match for me. I'll definitely become a great emperor and rule the world." The people in the distance were terrified. This was too terrifying. This dead soul's abyss was definitely a top-notch genius in the entire underworld. He really had the talent of a young great emperor. "Run, don't make an enemy of him." Terrified voices rang out one after another as these people fled one after another. Ants, looking at the fleeing figures in the distance. The dead soul's abyss had a look of disdain, but all of a sudden his brows furrowed. A jade pendant on his body emitted light, which was a signal for help. Chapter 5031. Not good. There was a problem with the temporary residents. Who was it? How dare you attack our undead spirit clan? Instead of searching for other tombs, the abyss of dead souls prepared to leave hell and head to the palace. No matter who it was, if they dared to provoke the undead spirit clan, he would tear them into pieces. With a sway of its body, it turned into a bolt of gray lightning and disappeared in an instant. The demon was finally gone. When the dead soul's abyss left the 3rd level, the other trial takers heaved a sigh of relief. The other party's presence here gave them too much pressure, so much so that they didn't dare to make any moves. Fortunately, the other party had left. As for the reason, they couldn't be bothered to find out. The speed of the dead soul's abyss was extremely fast. When he arrived at the palace, his brows were tightly knitted together. He found that the palace had been destroyed, and there were still remnants of power around it. There was also a huge crack in the sky. It was obvious that a great battle had taken place here. Who was it? He roared angrily and searched in all directions. He caught a few figures in an instant. Those were 2 great sages. However, under the might of the gigantic hands of the dead soul's abyss, there was no way they could fight back at all. They shouted angrily, "We haven't offended you, have we? Let us go. We kowtow to you." The 2 great sages were terrified. The abyss of the dead souls snorted coldly. "Who dares to attack the palace of our dead souls clan?" The 2 great sages shook their heads. "We don't know. All we know is that you necromancers have activated a consummate spell formation. There was also an endless black vortex behind it. We didn't dare to go over." "Humph!" The dead soul's abyss sneered as a gray light flickered in his eyes. He directly searched his soul. The 2 great sages screamed. They tried their best to resist, but how could they be a match for the death soul's abyss? In an instant, their souls shattered. The dead soul's abyss loosened his grip, his face cold. The 2 great saints were not lying. They really did not know who the enemy was. He snorted coldly. No matter who it is, I will not let him off. His figure flickered as he strode forward. Inside the palace, the Dead Soul's abyss shouted angrily, "Black Protector, come out and meet me." The status of the Dead Soul's abyss was so high that even the protectors of the palace had to pay their respects to him. However, after shouting a few times, he realized that no one came to see him. What's going on? The Dead Soul's abyss was furious. He waved his hand, and a mysterious rune appeared. "Undead spirit race, quickly come and meet me." His loud and clear voice spread in all directions, causing everyone to feel terrified. Soon, one figure after another appeared in the shattered buildings and pavilions. They were from the Undead clan. These people came before the Dead Soul's abyss, lowered their heads, and spoke quickly. "Young master, please avenge us." The Death Spirit's abyss coldly snorted. Who was he? Who dares to attack my undead spirit clan? His eyes were filled with endless fury. However, at this moment, the eyes of the martialists who had lowered their heads gleamed coldly. The few elders who took the lead suddenly struck out, slapping the body of the Dead Soul's abyss viciously. Boom! Today, there was an earth-shaking sound. The Dead Soul's abyss was sent flying, and several palm prints appeared on his body. He spat out blood and roared, "Damn it, are you guys crazy? How dare you attack me?" He really couldn't understand why his clansmen would attack. Could it be that these people were in disguise? But from the looks of it, that was not the case. The eyes of the Dead Spirit clan shone with extremely sharp light. "I'm following the master's orders to kill you." Kill. With a roar, these sages rushed over. All kinds of laws and abilities were unleashed in an overwhelming manner. At the same time, there were many array formations in the surroundings that flickered and charged towards the Dead Soul's abyss. The Dead Soul's abyss roared angrily. Were they all controlled? Who was it? He was a top-notch expert, and he instantly understood what was going on. Looking at these people's eyes, he knew that they had been controlled by someone else and had become puppets. Since that was the case, he would not hold back. The light on his body circulated, and his injuries quickly healed. In the next moment, a shocking light burst out from his eyes. "You guys have been controlled, and you no longer belong to my undead spirit clan. I'll give you a quick death." He attacked with both hands, and it was as if they had turned into two peerless blades that slashed forward. In an instant, more than a dozen figures were split in half. These people's souls were destroyed, and there was no pain. The Dead Soul's abyss was incomparably cold. To be honest, although these people were controlled, they were still his clansmen. Now that they had attacked and killed his clansmen, the Dead Soul's abyss was infuriated. He had to find the mastermind behind this and tear him to pieces. The Dead Soul's abyss was really too powerful. He swept through everything alone. Although he had suffered some injuries in the process, his injuries were quickly recovering. In the end, the Undead Spirit Clan and the array formations in the sky were all torn apart. The Dead Soul's abyss was stained with blood, both his and his clansmen's. His face was a little pale, but it seemed that his life was not in danger. "Damn it!" he roared at the sky. However, at this moment, the Dead Soul's flag in front of him burst out with light. Endless souls poured in and enveloped the Dead Soul's abyss. They crazily devoured the souls of the Dead Soul's abyss. The Dead Soul's abyss was heavily injured again, and he roared crazily. His soul had been wounded. He retreated and vomited large mouthfuls of blood. "Damn it, even you guys dare to attack me?" He was really angry, and an extremely terrifying light burst out from his eyes. Eye of the Dead Soul's soul-stealing. His eyes turned gray, without any luster. However, they were emitting an extremely terrifying soul pressure. Wherever it passed, the surrounding resentful spirits seemed to have been cut by a divine sword. They kept shattering. Those resentful spirits roared crazily, wanting to escape. However, the Dead Soul's abyss was truly enraged. Under this pair of eyes, everything was reduced to ashes. In the end, the entire palace was torn apart and shattered. Only the Dead Soul's abyss was still standing there, but his current situation was also very bad. Previously, he had fought with his own clansmen. It caused his body to be injured. Now, he was fighting with these resentful spirits, causing his soul to be injured. In short, he was severely injured. The people in the distance were shocked when they saw this scene. What was going on? Was the Dead Soul's abyss crazy? They were dumbstruck that they wanted to attack their own clansmen. The Dead Soul's abyss roared at the sky. "Damn it, no matter who you are, I will definitely find you and tear you into pieces." The people in the distance were shocked when they heard this. Their scalps went numb. Could it be that there was still a mastermind behind this? They didn't know that the mastermind behind this matter, Lin Xian, had already left. He came to a desolate mountain range, opened up a cave, and set up an array. Then he sat down cross-legged. This time, he had obtained a lot of storage rings and resources from the Dead Soul's race. They were all thrown into the sword world to strengthen his world. At the same time, he waved his hand and took out another rune. This was the rune that went against the 6 paths of reincarnation. Chapter 5032. Lin Xian comprehended. His eye technique had become even more terrifying. Then he adjusted his state to its peak and took a deep breath. His expression became extremely solemn. Next was the most important thing. He wanted to comprehend the demon summoning scripture, which was the inheritance of the great emperor. Closing his eyes, Lin Xian's mind was filled with countless information. It was as if it had turned into a black book that floated in his mind. The demon summoning scripture was created by the demon emperor. It was said that when one cultivated it to an extremely high level, one could summon the demon god from beyond the heavens. It was extremely powerful. The great emperor's technique was very difficult to understand. Lin Xian had a lot of secret arts in his hands. 9 Yang divine body, immortality, seal of the fearless lion. He even had the newly obtained earth divine power, shadowless heaven's net, and Azura sword technique. However, all of them added together were not as difficult to cultivate as the demon summoning scripture. Lin Xian silently comprehended. It had been 3 years. He finally read through the earth ancient scripture and heaved a sigh of relief. It was too difficult. Even a great sage would find it difficult to understand the ancient scripture. He wondered how terrifying a true living great emperor would be. Lin Xian recalled the demon emperor he saw 100,000 years ago. That was a real great emperor. He gave him the feeling that he could kill him with a single glance. He had never felt this way before. Because his trump card was so powerful, he had always been the one to kill his enemies instantly. But now, there was someone who could kill him instantly. This feeling was 100 times more dangerous than when he saw the Dragon Prince and Kun Pengzi. The great emperor was indeed an existence that stood at the pinnacle. And now, Lin Xian wanted to cultivate the great emperor's ultimate technique. Lin Xian did not cultivate it completely. After all, he did not want to become a demon. This was different from his ultimate path. However, he could use it as a reference and even choose to cultivate it. The demon summoning scripture not only had internal scriptures, but also various ultimate techniques. For example, there was the demon god's eye, demon god's wings, and demon god's sword. There was even the demon god's seal and demon god's finger. There were various ultimate techniques. According to the ancient scripture, the most important thing was to condense the illusion of the demon god. This phantom was extremely difficult to condense. However, once it was unleashed, its might would be terrifying to the extreme. Lin Xian began to cultivate. In the blink of an eye, another 3 years had passed. He still did not appear and continued to cultivate in silence. Outside, The wind and clouds were changing. A new batch of geniuses had arrived in the underworld, and they were beginning to rise to prominence and challenge the trials. As for the Dead Spirit clan, the Dead Spirit Abyss had also recovered from its injuries. He frantically searched for the culprit behind the scenes, but the culprit seemed to have disappeared. It did not appear again. Damn it! The abyss of dead souls roared at the sky. He didn't give up and continued to send people from the undead clan to investigate. As long as he felt the power of the Song of the Dead Souls, he would attack regardless of the consequences. As for him, he had entered the 4th level of the underworld. His goal was the Great Emperor, and he knew that there was already an emperor in this generation. He displayed his powerful strength. If he wanted to become a great emperor, he had to defeat those princes first. Therefore, he cultivated even more crazily, and even hoped to encounter some heaven-defying fortuitous encounters in the 4th level of hell, the 7th year. In the 3rd level of hell, a figure walked out of the ruins. It was a monkey with a metal rod in his hand. The moment he came out, he roared at the sky, shattering the 9 heavens and 10 earths. The people in the 3rd level were incomparably terrified. In an instant, countless news spread rapidly. Someone had actually walked out of the Azure ruins. Heavens, who was it? What did he obtain? Did he obtain the Azura inheritance? Countless voices were heard, and countless people came to investigate. In the end, they were killed by the monkey with a large metal rod. A bunch of flies. Get lost! The monkey, Yang Tian roared. He had also spent a lot of effort to walk out of the Azure ruins. After coming out, he began to search for Lin Xian's whereabouts. Brother Lin had not come out yet. Impossible. Could it be that he was still trapped inside? The monkey came out naturally because the Azure race had something to do with time. With his current strength, he was still unable to deal with time. Therefore, he could only search outside. In the end, he did not find any traces of Lin Xian. He sighed. Perhaps he had already come out. Moreover, Brother Lin had many trump cards. There should be no problem. The monkey was not too sure at first, but when he met the undead spirit race, he understood. This was because the undead spirit race had targeted him, and he had killed several great sages of the undead spirit race. He also received a piece of news. He was not the first to be hunted down. A few years ago, there was a young man who had walked out of the Azure ruins like him. At that time, they had also chased after that young man. In fact, that young man had even destroyed a palace. After the monkey heard this, he immediately laughed. Ha ha! It must be Brother Lin's brother. He was happy and surprised at the same time. Lin Xian had come out earlier than him. This was too unbelievable. He had killed those great sages of the undead spirit race. The monkey snorted coldly. How dare you attack my brother? You must be tired of living. He also attacked aggressively and destroyed another palace. This caused a commotion in the underworld. Yet another person dared to challenge the undead spirit race. The undead spirit race was going crazy. First, they were slapped in the face by a young man. Now they were slapped in the face by a monkey. They could not tolerate it. They summoned the abyss of the dead spirits. These people began to summon frantically. On the 4th level of hell, the abyss of the dead spirits returned immediately after receiving the news. When he arrived, he realized that it was not the person he wanted to see. It was a monkey. However, he would make the undead spirit race regret it for daring to challenge them. Whether it was a human or a monkey, they would definitely die. Kneel down and accept your death. The abyss of the dead spirits looked at Sun Qiqian and shouted coldly. Sun Qiqian sneered. You? Take my staff. He struck out, and the iron staff swept across the world as if it had turned into a peerless divine weapon. It directly enveloped the abyss of the dead spirits. The abyss of the dead spirits' body was torn into pieces. The surrounding people were shocked. Wasn't he killed? That's impossible. Isn't he the number one genius of the undead spirit race? How could he be killed so easily? This monkey is too terrifying. Sun Qiqian snorted coldly. What a weak ant. He turned around and wanted to leave. However, in the next moment, he frowned because there was a sneer in the world. I think you're the ant. I'm an immortal existence. You can't hurt me at all. Sun Qiqian suddenly turned around and found that the body that had been torn into pieces had turned into countless rays of light in the form of souls. Then they gathered together and reformed into a human figure, the body of the undead spirit. Sun Qiqian furrowed his brows tightly. The abyss of the dead spirit sneered. That's right, I have the body of the undead spirit. How are you going to kill me without a trace? His physique was extremely terrifying. It was the body of the Archean age. Therefore, this injury could not kill him at all. The people in the distance were shocked. As expected of the abyss of the dead spirits, he was indeed heaven-defying. His bloodline and physique could be said to be the strongest person below the arch. Chapter 5033. How dare you claim to be immortal? Sun Qiqian sneered. Today, Old Sun, will destroy your soul. He roared angrily and waved his iron cudgel again, enveloping the front. The body of the dead soul's abyss shattered again, turning into countless cracks. Each of the fragments formed a soul, emitting a terrifying aura. Damn it, Old Sun, will destroy you. Heaven's wrath! He roared at the sky, and a terrifying sound was heard. It was enough to shock the past and present. Retreat! The spectators in the distance retreated frantically. Those who retreated slowly were torn into pieces by the sound. Blood mist fell from the sky. The people of the Dead Souls race also knelt on the ground in horror. It was too terrifying. A roar that could destroy the world. Just what kind of divine being was this monkey? The Dead Souls abyss also roared coldly. The souls that he condensed were each holding a death scythe. Then they charged forward. Thousands of death scythes gathered and overlapped with each other, colliding with the terrifying sound. The confrontation between the two was earth-shattering. The spectators were dumbfounded. It was too terrifying. The Dead Souls abyss was not the number one genius. The monkey was also terrifying. The unique skills that he used were really terrifying. After one move, the two of them fought again. They either fought in close combat or from afar. All kinds of unique skills were emerging. The spectators were dumbfounded. Were they really just two young people? Why did it feel like two young great emperors were fighting? This was truly a fierce battle between a dragon and a tiger. Countless experts of the underworld nodded their heads as they watched this scene. They heard that there was a crown prince in wholly distant ancient city, and the dragon prince was eyeing the underworld. The underworld had the nether emperor, but there was no crown prince. The Dead Souls abyss was equivalent to an uncrowned king. This title was too heavy. It was equivalent to treating the Dead Souls abyss as a crown prince. However, the other party was indeed qualified. The strength that the other party displayed was really powerful. Perhaps even a great sage intermediate would be easily torn to pieces if they went up. However, what was more shocking was the monkey. The Dead Souls abyss bloodline was not ordinary. That was why he was so terrifying. But what was the origin of this monkey? It was too terrifying. His blood chi shocked the world. The iron staff in his hand swept out in all directions, and it was as if a great sage facing off against a great sage was like an ant facing off against a dragon. There was no way he could resist at all. Even if it was the Dead Souls abyss, it was still beaten up to the point where its blood was rumbling, and it was howling madly. Damn it, go to hell! The Dead Souls abyss roared angrily, and endless gray laws appeared on his body. It was as if he had transformed into the god of death as he charged forward. There were tens of thousands of scythes beside him, which turned into a terrifying light. It could take away one's life force. At this moment, everyone was looking up. I, old son, am not afraid of you. The monkey was more direct. He waved the iron cudgel in his hand, as if an ancient god had come back to life. He swung out 9 times in a row, shattering heaven and earth in an unpredictable manner. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. Everyone felt their hair stand on end. The entire world was constantly shattering, turning into chaos. Martial Dao Heavenly Eye. At this moment, Sun Qiqian let out a furious roar as his eyes shone with golden light. Golden flames descended, igniting the 9 heavens. The surrounding vengeful spirits screamed crazily and turned into black smoke. What is this? At this moment, everyone from the underworld felt their hair stand on end. The other party's golden eyes and golden flames were too terrifying. It gave them a great sense of threat. It was as if it was born to restrain them. The dead soul's abyss body was also enveloped by the golden flames and instantly burned. He screamed as half of his body turned into ashes. His eyes were filled with horror. Damn it, who are you? Who are you? He was too shocked. In the younger generation of the entire underworld, there were no more than 3 people who could compete with him. But now, there was someone who could suppress him. Moreover, he had been completely restrained by it. The other party's gaze was really terrifying. It easily pierced through his body. Damn it! The dead soul's abyss turned around and left. There was no way to fight. The moment the martial Dao Heavenly Eye appeared, it was really too strong to restrain him. Did he escape? Countless powerhouses of the underworld looked at this scene with shock. However, they did not feel that the dead soul's abyss had lost, because everyone felt a sense of horror. Whether it was the young geniuses or the older powerhouses, they were all looking at the monkey with awe. They even decided that if there was a chance, they would definitely kill the other party, because this person was the nemesis of all the underworld. The monkey sneered. "Want to run? Stay here for me. Old son." The martial Dao Heavenly Eye attacked again and pierced through the other party's body. Then the iron staff swept across and directly smashed the dead soul's abyss into pieces. The dead soul's abyss was severely injured. His broken body turned into countless souls. They flew in all directions and finally escaped. Humph, an ant. The monkey snorted. Countless people were shocked, and there were even people who were secretly watching the monkey. But Sun Qiqian was still not afraid. What happened 5 days later shocked the entire underworld. Sun Qiqian was being hunted down. The person who attacked was a pinnacle great sage, a top great sage of the dead soul's race. He was extremely powerful. The other party had a dead soul's pagoda. He attacked Sun Qiqian aggressively. Although Sun Qiqian was strong, he was only an early stage great sage. Facing a pinnacle great sage, he was still injured. Even the martial Dao Heavenly Eye could not hurt a pinnacle great sage this time. Sun Qiqian could only retreat. That pinnacle great sage wanted to completely kill Sun Qiqian, but he found that he could not do it. Damn it. In the end, Sun Qiqian escaped with injuries and left a message. When I, old son, reach the pinnacle, it will be the time of the dead soul's race's destruction. As soon as these words came out, the underworld was shocked. The pupils of the dead soul's race also shrank. That pinnacle great sage even gave an order. Find. Even if he ran to the ends of the earth, he must find him. And he swore that the next time he attacked, it would not be just one pinnacle great sage. At least 5 pinnacle great sages were needed to kill him, destroy his opponent's soul. It was not only the dead soul's race. Some powerful families and sects in the underworld felt that Sun Qiqian was a scourge. They were also secretly looking for him. They even formed an alliance. 10 pinnacle great sages attacked together, sweeping across the world. In the end, They did not find him. This made their faces turn ugly. Could it be that he had already left the underworld? Everyone's heart was heavy. If they let him break through again in the future and come back, how many of them could resist him? The atmosphere of the Dead Souls race was also solemn. However, the Dead Souls abyss said, "Humph, his eyes are too strange. Other than that, I am not afraid. As long as I find a magic treasure to block those eyes, I can kill him with my sword." The Dead Souls race regained their hope. The Dead Souls abyss was their family's hope. He would definitely become a great emperor in the future. No matter how strong the other party was, he was no match for him. The Pinnacle Great Sage said, "Don't worry, we will forge a sacred weapon for you to block his golden eyes." Chapter 5034. Lin Xian didn't know about all of this. At this moment, Lin Xian was still in seclusion. He entered the sword world to cultivate the demon summoning scripture. In the blink of an eye, it was already the 10th year. Lin Xian's demon summoning scripture was only at the beginner level. However, because he cultivated the demon summoning scripture, it allowed him to cultivate Shadowless Heaven's net and Shura sword even faster. The Shura sword art was already able to unleash the third sword. The Shadowless Heaven's net movement technique had become even more unpredictable than before. In addition, there was another ability in the demon summoning scripture, which was the wings of the demon god. Although they were both movement techniques, the two were different. The Shadowless Heaven's net was equivalent to dodging quickly within a certain range. As for the wings of the demon god, it was extremely fast when flying in a straight line. Both had their strengths. In addition to the wings of the demon god, there was also the seal of the demon god. It could transform into a large seal, which was a powerful attack. The song of the demon god. It was different from the previous song of the dead. The song of the dead was equivalent to a mark which was used to chase after the enemy. However, the song of the demon god was an attack, soul attack. When the song was played, the soul instantly collapsed. At that time, when combined with Lin Xian's heavenly secret divine eyes, the power would increase exponentially. Other than that, there were also many divine abilities. As expected of the great emperor's inheritance, it was really too powerful. Now Lin Xian could finally experience the terror of those emperors. Even if a great emperor died, he could still preserve his family for tens of millions of years. It had been 10 years. It was time to go out and take a look. Lin Xian's current strength had increased by leaps and bounds, much stronger than before. Moreover, he didn't know what was going on outside. He would look for the Monkey King and then check out the other situations in hell. If there was nothing special, Lin Xian was prepared to return to Holy Distant Ancient City. After all, his goal was the Dragon Prince. Thinking of this, Lin Xian walked out. At the same time, the underworld had changed in the past 10 years, especially the 18 levels of hell. There was also a new batch of cultivators. The first level of the underworld, Catoptric Deflection. At this moment, a new batch of cultivators had recruited another batch of cultivators. Catoptric Deflection. They were even stronger than before. It could be said that there were not many sects on the first level that could contend against them. Even now, Catoptric Deflection was preparing to enter the second level and develop his own forces there. In the Catoptric Deflection, a few figures were chatting beside the lake. One of them said, "Have you heard? The monkey that had swept through the undead spirit race and even severely injured the dead spirit abyss. It has something to do with our illusionary flower, Moon Clan." Really? That monkey was too heaven-defying. He definitely had the talent of a young great emperor. It was no wonder that the Dead Souls Abyss was defeated by him. There are also people who say that the monkey's martial Dao heavenly eye is too terrifying and is specifically used to restrain people from the underworld. Otherwise, The dead soul's abyss would not have been defeated so thoroughly. They might even win. Voices sounded one after another. However, at this moment, a big man walked over and said with a smile, "What do you know? Before that monkey, there was another person who had swept through the palace of the undead spirit clan. That's a member of our illusionary flowers, reflected moon." What? Our catoptric deflection actually has such an awesome person? When the others heard this, they were extremely shocked. They had just joined a few years ago, so they didn't know what had happened before. And this big man was the one who had followed Nero, Lin Xian, and the others to carry out the mission together. Therefore, he had naturally seen Lin Xian and knew that Lin Xian had saved Monkey King. The big man said, "Not only that, do you know that monkey? She was saved by the people from the illusionary flowers, water, and moon. Which great god is it?" Many people were shocked. The big man laughed. His name was Lin Wudi. Next, the big man told them what had happened back then. Although he only gave a rough description, the people around him were extremely shocked after hearing it. Oh, God. Lin Wudi was actually so powerful. Do you think these two people are the emperor's sons? Someone asked. The big man said that he didn't know. Even if they weren't the emperor's sons, they were geniuses who weren't far off. In the future, they were destined to stand at the peak of the universe. Stand at the peak with just the two of them? Humph, they were destined to go to the 18th level of hell. At this moment, a cold voice sounded. The people of the illusionary flower, reflected moon, were stunned. Many people's faces darkened. Because according to the big man, Lin Wudi was a member of the illusionary flower, reflected moon. Now, that someone was looking down on Lin Wudi, they were looking down on the illusionary flower, reflected moon. In an instant, they were furious. "Who are you? Get out here." "That's right. Who are you? How dare you look down on the people of the illusionary flower, reflected moon? Why can't Lin Gongzi and Lin Wudi stand at the peak of the world? What are the illusionary flower, reflected moon? I can destroy it with one hand. Damn it. How dare you look down on the illusionary flower, reflected moon?" The saints were instantly enraged. They had already joined the illusionary flower, reflected moon, so they naturally had to protect the reputation of their sect. Therefore, at this moment, when they heard the words of the person in front of them, killing intent instantly surged out from their bodies. One after another, extremely terrifying laws swept between heaven and earth. "How dare you ants make a move against me?" The mysterious figure in front of them raised the corners of his mouth into a disdainful smile. The founder of the illusionary flower, reflected moon, couldn't even block 3 of my moves back then. Do you think that ants like you can block a single finger of mine? It's as easy as flipping my hand if I want to kill you. How is that possible? The surrounding members were all stunned. The founder of the illusionary flower, reflected moon, couldn't block 3 of his moves? What a joke. Although they hadn't seen their founder yet, he was definitely an extremely terrifying expert to be able to create the illusionary flower, reflected moon. The burly man from before furrowed his brows tightly. The person in front of him didn't seem to be lying. Could it be that he was really an extremely terrifying existence? The mysterious figure in front of them ignored the saints. Instead, he looked at the lake further away. He said, "This is the territory of the illusionary flower, reflected moon, right?" There was an extremely terrifying array around it. He walked to the left and took a step forward. In an instant, he surpassed the surrounding saints. He arrived above the lake. He looked around. Not bad. It seemed that the power of the array had increased over the years. When the surrounding sages saw this scene, they all frowned. Someone sneered. "What are you trying to do? Are you trying to attack our illusionary flower, reflected moon? Don't joke around. Our array isn't something that you can resist." Before they could finish speaking, They were all stunned. The mysterious man in front of them stretched out a finger and gently waved it. The array around them kept shattering. The entire lake was split in half by him. How was this possible? The people of the illusionary flower, reflected moon, widened their eyes in disbelief. If they didn't have a token, they wouldn't be able to enter these arrays at all. Even a supreme saint would be destroyed in body and soul. But now the other party had easily broken through them. Could it be that this person had really reached the peak of perfection? Chapter 5035. Under this finger, the entire lake was split in half. Inside the lake, the people of the illusionary flowers, water and moon were even more shocked. They felt that their surroundings were shaking. Endless power surged down, and there was even the sound of the array shattering. Damn it, what happened? Someone was attacking them. Illusionary flowers, water and moon? Who was it? Was it a powerhouse from the second level? Go out and take a look. In an instant, many powerhouses rushed out, shouting loudly. However, when they saw a person on the lake, they were shocked. When he used a finger to shatter the surroundings, they were all stunned. Heavens, what kind of person was this? His strength was simply too strong. Nero also rushed out. When she saw the figure in front of her, her pupils suddenly shrank. Abyss of dead souls, you actually came here? As soon as these words came out, the others were also stunned. Abyss of dead souls. This name was like thunder to their ears. This was the #1 genius of the undead clan. In the underworld, he could be ranked in the top 5. His strength was definitely terrifying. It was just that they had never seen him before. They didn't expect that the mysterious man in front of them was actually Abyss of dead souls. No wonder he was so terrifying. He did have such strength. Nero's expression became incomparably ugly. What was he doing here? She didn't know, but she knew that with their strength they couldn't resist at all. This matter could only be reported to the leader of the illusionary flowers, Water and Moon Alliance. In fact, without them saying anything, a mirror flew out from inside. The mirror was incomparably simple. In the sky, a pair of eyes appeared. He stared ahead and asked, Abyss of dead souls, our illusionary flowers, Water and Moon Alliance didn't offend you, right? Why are you here? A biting, cold, murderous intent appeared in Abyss of dead souls' eyes. The monkey who came to my undead clan before is related to your illusionary flowers, Water and Moon Alliance, right? Do you know where he is? Also, the man who destroyed my palace earlier is called Linwoody, right? He seems to be a member of your illusionary flowers, Water and Moon Alliance. Tell him to come out and die. I don't know the monkey you're talking about. As for Linwoody, he is indeed a member of our illusionary flowers, Water and Moon Alliance. However, since he joined our illusionary flowers, Water and Moon Alliance, there has been no trace of him for 10 years. We don't know where he is. Perhaps he has already left the underworld. Left? The dead soul's abyss snorted coldly. With a stomp of his foot, the heavens collapsed and the earth cracked. The entire lake below instantly turned into a black hole of nothingness. The pupils of the surrounding people shrank. The cold voice of the dead soul's abyss rang out. Linwoody dared to go against the dead soul's clan. He will die without a doubt. Not only that, all his friends would go to hell. Who among you has a good relationship with him? The cold gaze of the dead soul's abyss swept over. It was like a sharp, heavenly blade. Wherever it passed, the sages of the catoptric deflection coughed up mouthfuls of blood. He kept retreating. Some of them even had their bodies shattered. They lowered their heads deeply, and no one dared to resist. The other party's gaze was too strong. Just one look was enough to kill them. Nero's face turned ugly, because in the entire catoptric deflection, only she and Lin Xian had a special relationship. Even though it was said to be extraordinary, The truth of the matter was that they had formed a team together to explore the third level of hell. Even so, it still attracted the attention of countless people. The Dead Souls Abyss also turned his head, stared at Nai Luo, and said with a frown, "You are that Lin Woody's friend?" As soon as these words came out, everyone's hearts trembled. They looked at Nero with sympathy in their eyes. They knew that Nero was finished. Nero took a deep breath and gritted her teeth. They weren't friends, but they had experienced life and death battles together. Nero's voice was sonorous. The Dead Souls Abyss laughed. "Aren't you afraid that I'll kill you?" Nero said, "I'm telling the truth. You can kill me, but you can't make me submit. I belong to the Bridge of Helplessness." "Humph, the Bridge of Helplessness. I'm really surprised that there's a woman like you. I admire you very much. If it were under other circumstances, I might have asked you to consider following me. I would have let you enjoy a lifetime of glory and wealth. But unfortunately, you know Lin Woody, and you have a special relationship with him. In that case, don't blame me for making a move." The Dead Souls Abyss raised a finger and pointed forward. The faces of the surrounding people turned incomparably pale. Nero roared angrily. She waved her hand and launched the Bridge of Helplessness. She stood on the bridge, surrounded by an endless abyss. He tried to resist. However, he couldn't stop it at all. Endless laws gathered in Nero's hand, forming a rune. He waved his hand forward. It shattered the Bridge of Helplessness in an instant. He pointed at Nero's glabella. In an instant, a gray rune appeared between his eyebrows. It carried an extremely powerful aura. Nero's face turned incomparably pale in an instant. She could feel her life rapidly fading away. "This is the soul-seizing rune, a unique technique of my undead spirit clan. Once you're hit by it, your life will quickly drain away. It won't be long before you turn into an old woman. In the end, you will die in despair." Everyone felt their scalps go numb when they heard this. To be honest, with the Death Spirit's Abyss's methods, killing Nirvana would be extremely difficult. It couldn't be any simpler. It could be said that they could kill him instantly. However, he didn't do so. His opponent was clearly torturing him, turning a beautiful fairy into an ugly existence. Furthermore, the daily torture of his soul and the disappearance of his life force could be said to be even more despairing than death. Nero was in despair. She realized that she could not withstand this power at all. The surrounding people felt their scalps go numb. At this moment, the Dead Souls Abyss attacked again. A gray flag appeared in his hand and danced wildly. Endless, resentful spirits flew out and attacked the surrounding saints. The entire catoptric deflection was enveloped. In the next moment, they felt their souls split open, as if they were about to be torn apart. Even that simple and unadorned mirror had become dim and lifeless. The Dead Souls Abyss said, "From now on, each of you will suffer the pain of your soul being torn apart until death. During this period, no one can relieve your pain. Apart from me, there is one more person, and that is Lin Woody. As long as he appears, I can spare you. Otherwise, you can wait for your death in despair. Go find Lin Woody and tell him that I'm waiting for him in hell." The Dead Souls Abyss sneered and left. Since Lin Woody was a member of the catoptric deflection, these people must have a way to contact him. When the other party appeared, he would kill him with his own hands. The Dead Souls Abyss left, but the people of the catoptric deflection were in despair. They screamed in pain. Nero's body also shook. A demonic black flower appeared on the mirror of the leader of the catoptric deflection sect. She let out a crazy roar. "Contact Lin Woody for me." Chapter 5036. This news also spread quickly. Everyone was shocked. It seemed that the Dead Souls Abyss was going to make a move again. If they couldn't find that monkey, they would probably find Lin Wudi. They didn't know much about Lin Wudi. They only knew that the other party was from the illusionary view, and he was the one who destroyed the undead clan's palace for the first time. Although it was shocking, it was still a far cry from the Dead Souls Abyss. The Dead Souls Abyss was the top genius in the underworld. His strength was unparalleled. Everyone even regarded him as a young great emperor who could fight against such a person. Although he lost to the monkey last time, everyone thought it was just an accident. Because the monkey's eyes restrained the entire underworld, the Dead Souls Abyss was not defeated. And in these few years, the other party must have found a way to resist that pair of eyes. This time, even if he met the monkey again, he probably wouldn't lose again. As for this Lin Wudi, everyone wasn't optimistic. Not only that, this time, the undead clan seemed to want to completely wipe away their previous shame. Last time, they had been defeated and their temporary residence had been destroyed. They had lost all face and prestige. This time, they were here to reestablish their reputation. So in addition to the Dead Souls Abyss, they also pushed out a top genius, Phantom, a woman, the younger sister of the Dead Souls Abyss. Her talent was also very strong. At this moment, Phantom came to the underworld and began to challenge these powerhouses in the underworld. She even began to sweep the top geniuses of other families. All of a sudden, all kinds of news spread. The genius of the Assassin Temple was defeated by Phantom in 3 moves. The people of the Blood Fiend sect were defeated in 5 moves. Those powerhouses of the underworld were also unable to withstand 10 moves. Countless people were shocked. How could this woman be so powerful? She was a soul illusion, and her attack was too strong. A pair of eyes seemed to be able to see through everything. No one was his opponent. Exclamations sounded one after another. In a short period of time, Phantom had emerged as a new force to be reckoned with, which shocked everyone. At the same time, they also knew that the undead clan was too powerful. Although they suffered a loss before, the appearance this time showed that the other party's foundation was very strong. Besides the number 1 genius, the other geniuses of the other party were also very terrifying. For a moment, those people in the underworld were terrified. They swore that they would never be enemies with the undead clan again. At the same time, they began to worry about catoptric deflection and even Lin Xian. Even the younger sister of the Dead Souls Abyss was so terrifying. Then how terrifying was the Death Soul Abyss? Most likely, if he were to make a move, all the geniuses would be insta-killed. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. Over the past month, countless messages are flying. Those people had endured a month of pain. During this month, their souls were being devoured every moment of every day. They all had to endure that kind of torment, especially Nero. She was once an absolute beauty, but at this moment, she seemed to have turned into a skeleton. She did not even have a proper appearance. The demonic mirror roared madly. Had Lin Wudi not been contacted yet? Is he not here yet? Some people are desperate. Yes, they had already contacted him. However, he had probably received the news long ago. Knowing that the Dead Souls Abyss wanted to kill him, he had probably fled long ago. Yes, we have been contacting him every day for the past month. They had arrived a long time ago. The fact that the other party was not here meant that they were afraid. They were no match for the Death Souls Abyss at all. The other party had run away, but we had to endure despair. Not only them, but everyone was paying attention. For the past month, Lin Wudi had not appeared at all. Some people sneered. What Lin Wudi? He was too arrogant. He dared to call himself invincible? That's right, he didn't even dare to come out now. How could he fight against the Dead Souls Abyss? What a joke. He was no match for them at all. The people of the undead clan snorted coldly. That Lin Wudi used despicable means to destroy our palace. We were careless. If we fought head-on, he was no match for us at all. Come out if you have the guts. We can kill him with a slap. Phantom also spoke. My brother doesn't need to make a move. My eyes can kill him in an instant. One voice after another sounded. At this moment, the reputation of the undead clan reached its peak. Everyone had to look up to them. At this moment, Lin Xian was still on the 3rd level of the underworld. He had just cultivated the demon summoning scripture. After coming out, he naturally had to show off his power. At this moment, he came to an ancient tomb. There was an extremely terrifying existence in the ancient tomb. A skeleton flew out. It had the cultivation of a mid-stage great sage. The skeleton stretched out its claws, covering the sky and the earth. It seemed to tear everything apart. Lin Xian slapped out with his palm. Demon God Seal. He drew a huge seal with his palm and blasted it forward. A casual blow shattered heaven and earth. In front of him, the mid-stage great sage skeleton was instantly torn apart. It couldn't withstand it at all. Its body and soul were destroyed. Lin Xian retracted his palm, and the corners of his mouth raised. Too powerful. Previously, he was very strong, but to kill a mid-stage great sage without using his trump card, he had to go all out. But now, he only needed one move to kill a mid-stage great sage. His power was 10 times stronger than before. As expected of the great emperor's ancient scripture, it was really terrifying. He had only been cultivating for 10 years. If he cultivated for a longer time, then his power could be improved again. He would try other supernatural powers. Lin Xian cultivated more than one supernatural power in the demon summoning scripture. At this moment, he wanted to try them one by one. Demon God Wings. At this moment, a pair of black wings appeared on his back and gently flapped. He instantly disappeared on the spot. When he reappeared, he was already in the endless distance. So fast. Lin Xian was surprised. He had cultivated the shadowless heavens net before, but the straight-line distance of the shadowless heavens net couldn't compare to the demon god wings. Of course, it didn't mean that the shadowless heavens net was useless. After all, the shadowless heavens net was also a great emperor's supernatural power. The effect of the shadowless heavens net was better. That kind of elusive movement technique could immediately make the enemy collapse. Just like that, Lin Xian began to use the various martial arts he cultivated on the 3rd level. In the blink of an eye, another month passed. During this month, the people on the 1st level of the underworld were in an uproar. They had even learned that the catoptric deflection had suffered a desperate blow because of Lin Wudi. The catoptric deflection was really unlucky to have something to do with Lin Wudi. It was said that they had to endure the pain of their souls every day. Some people sneered. Not only that, it was said that the beautiful fairy of the underworld had become like a skeleton. This was worse than killing her. That Lin Wudi still didn't dare to come out. Coward! What right did he have to call himself invincible? One after another, cold shouts came. A month later, on the 3rd level of the underworld, Lin Xian retracted his palm. Around him, a cave abode was directly shattered. It was split open by his sword. There were a few mid-stage great sages who had fallen inside. Who was this person? He was too strong. On the 3rd level of the underworld, there were also some explorers at this moment. When they saw this scene, they were incomparably terrified. If it weren't for the Dead Souls Abyss, which was still on the 1st level, they would have thought that the other party had come. They didn't know who this person was. The demonic chi on his body was so terrifying. Hurry up and leave. He should be an expert of the demonic path. Chapter 5037. At this moment, Lin Xian took out the demonic flower. It was a black flower. It was a keepsake given to him by the illusionary flower, water, and moon. It was also a symbol of his status in the illusionary flower, water and moon. Previously, he had ignored it after coming out because he didn't have time. Now, he finally had some free time. After he took it out, countless messages came from it, all of which were summoning him. Was there a problem with the illusionary flower, water and moon? Lin Xian was surprised. He didn't think too much about it. At this moment, his figure flickered and flew into the distance. When he joined the illusionary flower, water and moon, he already knew that there were some difficult missions that required everyone to do together. Perhaps this time, the illusionary flower, water and moon had summoned him for a mission. A pair of black wings spread out behind him and swayed gently. Lin Xian turned into a black bolt of lightning and streaked through the void. On the third level of the underworld, some people were extremely frightened. Some of the great sages, and even those in the middle stage, narrowed their eyes. What was that just now? Did you see it? Why did I feel that a black bolt of lightning flashed past? Was it a human? Impossible. Who could be so fast? This speed had already exceeded their understanding. Lin Xian used the demon god's wings. Not long after, he arrived at the exit of the third level. Soon, he went out. He entered the second level. The people on the second level were also shocked. On this day, they saw a bolt of lightning flash past. They could only see an afterimage. When they looked carefully, it had already disappeared. Who was it? Had a peerless expert come? On the first level of the underworld, the people of the illusionary flower, water, and moon were already in despair. They no longer had any hope for Lin Wuti. However, on this day, a figure descended. What's going on? Are you under attack? A faint voice sounded. The people of the illusionary flower, water, and moon suddenly raised their heads. They saw a man in a black robe walking over. The man was tall and straight, his face was handsome, and his eyes were incomparably deep. Who was this person? Many people were puzzled. They had never seen him before. However, some people's pupils constricted. You're here, the burly man roared. Lin Wuti, you finally appeared. As soon as he said that, the surrounding people were stunned. What? Lin Wuti? He was Lin Wuti. Countless people were shocked, feeling that this was inconceivable. Narrow stared ahead as tears flowed from her eyes. At this moment, her beautiful features were no longer there. She looked like a skeleton, but she seemed to see hope. Lin Xian had created many miracles. Back then, Lin Xian had entered Azura's ruins. That was a land of death, and no one had ever come out of it successfully. However, Lin Xian did it. This time, would Lin Xian be able to survive the crisis before him? He didn't know, but he decided to trust the other party. The mirror was also stunned. Inside, there was a pair of eyes and a black flower that kept spinning. It was also extremely shocked. This was because he could sense that although Lin Xian's appearance hadn't changed much, the aura on his body was much more profound than before. It was as if the other party was an ancient demonic beast that could erupt with boundless power at any time. Lin Xian's brows were tightly knitted together. He could tell that the souls of the people around him had been severely damaged. There was a force that was devouring these people's souls, especially when he saw a white-haired figure with a face like that of a skeleton. His pupils constricted violently. If he wasn't wrong, this should be Narrow. Previously, Narrow was a beautiful woman who could turn the world upside down. But now, she had turned into a skeleton. Who was it? How could they do such a thing? Lin Xian was instantly furious. Narrow had gone through some battles and missions with him, and could be considered his friend. At this moment, someone treated her like this. What was going on? Lin Xian frowned and asked. At this moment, the burly man from before told him what had happened. Lin Xian was furious. The abyss of dead souls had done it. He had heard of the abyss of dead souls more than once. He knew that it was the number one genius of the undead clan, but he had never seen it before. 10 years ago, he had even set up a trap to trick the other party. However, thinking about it, the trap didn't cause much damage to the other party. However, what happened next surprised Lin Xian. It turned out that the Monkey King had already appeared. Moreover, he had fought with the abyss of dead souls once and injured it. Later, the peak great saint of the undead clan took Sun Qiqian away with a super sacred weapon. It seemed that the Monkey King should have left the underworld. Lin Xian breathed a sigh of relief, and then his face darkened again. The undead clan couldn't find Sun Qiqian, so they came to him. Did they want to kill him to make a name for themselves? Was he, Lin Xian, a pushover? An extremely terrifying killing intent bloomed in his eyes. The abyss of dead souls. Was it? If you want to fight with me, as you wish. Lin Xian's eyes bloomed with golden light. He said, "Don't worry, the torture you suffered was caused by me. I will heal you, and I will kill the abyss of dead souls." The golden flames in his eyes flew in all directions, piercing through heaven and earth. When those resentful spirits saw the flames, they immediately roared crazily and wanted to escape. However, they were burned to ashes in an instant. The people in the catoptric deflection were stunned. They felt that the power that tormented their souls had disappeared. Oh my God, what kind of power is this? They looked at Lin Xian in shock. Previously, they had blamed Lin Xian and even hated Lin Xian. But now, all those feelings were gone. They were in awe and fear, especially when they knew that the abyss of dead souls had been injured by a pair of golden eyes. Now Lin Xian also had golden eyes. Oh my God, could his eyes and that of the monkey be the same kind of supernatural power? They were shocked. Lin Xian used the heavenly secret divine eyes and the fire of reincarnation to save these people. Then he stared at Nero and said, "Don't worry, I will restore your appearance." Nero was more troublesome than those people around her. Those people's souls were only devoured by the resentful spirits. He only needed to kill the resentful spirits. However, Nero was different. Nero was hit by a power similar to a curse. Not only did it hurt her soul, but there was also not much vitality in her body. This method was indeed vicious. In Nero's case, even the people in the catoptric deflection couldn't break it. But for Lin Xian, it wasn't a problem at all. No matter what happens next, don't resist. Lin Xian looked at Nero and said in a deep voice. Nero nodded, tears flowing out of her eyes. Lin Xian waved his hand, and a dragon-shaped sword energy appeared in his palm and came to his fingertip. He pointed at Nero's forehead. Nero's body shook, and pain appeared on her face. The black rune on her forehead seemed to have drawn a ghost head, and it bared its fangs and claws to bite. But in an instant, it was pierced by Lin Xian's finger. The great dragon sword soul's indestructible power split the black ghost head apart. The rune also dimmed and cracked from the middle. Lin Xian's 5 fingers stretched out, and his entire palm turned into a dragon head, grabbing at the other party. Then he waved his hand forcefully, and a black phantom was grabbed by him. Chapter 5038. After the black phantom was pulled out, Nero felt that her life was no longer flowing away. She looked in front of her in horror. The black phantom bared its fangs and brandished its claws, pouncing on Lin Xian like a demon. Oh no! Nero cried out in alarm. The other's pupils also constricted. This thing had tortured Nero for a long time. If it enveloped Lin Xian now, Lin Xian would probably be tortured too. Lin Xian shouted coldly. Such a thing could not enter his body at all. He activated the 9-yang divine body, which shone like the sun. When the black phantom touched the divine fire, it burned. He let out a miserable cry. Looking at the ball of flame, his expression became terrified. Even Nero and the others from the catoptric deflection felt their scalps go numb. What was this flame? It seemed to be a natural counter to them. Why would such a person come to the underworld with the power of the heavens and the power of the sun? They cried out in alarm. Now they knew that Lin Xian might not be from the underworld at all, but from another starry sky. The 9-yang divine fire burned fiercely, turning into a sun that kept crushing the phantom. The black phantom burned directly into the black phantom and turned into nothingness. Next, Lin Xian looked forward. He used the immortal indestructible technique to form the immortal battle armor and enveloped Nero. Nero felt a strong vitality surging into her body. Her withered body, which had turned into a skeleton, began to recover rapidly. The surrounding people also widened their eyes in disbelief. Not long after, about the time it took for an incense stick to burn past, Nero, a skeleton, turned into a beautiful woman. Although her face was a little pale, she had almost recovered. Lin Xian said as he put away the immortal battle armor, "There should be no problem, right?" Nero took out a mirror and looked at herself carefully. She found that her face had returned to normal. She was so excited that she was about to cry. "Thank you, Lin Gongzi." She looked at Lin Xian with incomparable gratitude, wishing that she could repay him with her body. Lin Xian said, "Most of your life force has returned, but it's still a bit weak. Eat some medicinal pills and natural treasures to recover on your own." As for thanks, there was no need for that. This happened because of me. If it wasn't for me, you wouldn't have been tortured like this. Therefore, it is only right for me to save you. And that dead soul's abyss, I won't let it go either. I will let him know what regret is. Tell him that I'll be waiting for him at the flaming battlefield in 10 days. In the first level of Infernal Realm, there was a land of flames. Moreover, it was an ancient battlefield. It was called the Scarlet Flame Battlefield. He had been there before, and it was very suitable for this battle. Therefore, Lin Xian decided to fight to the death there. Nero took a deep breath. The others were also shocked. Were they really going to make a move? It seemed that Lin Wuti was not afraid of the dead soul's abyss at all. She said, "Lin Gongzi, you have to be careful. The dead soul's abyss is extremely powerful, known as the uncrowned king. He was no weaker than the crown prince. Some people even said that he would definitely become a true great emperor. No matter how strong he is not the crown prince. Therefore, I am not afraid." Lin Xian was going to challenge the dragon prince, so he was going to start with the dead soul's abyss. He wanted to test his strength. The dead soul's abyss should be second only to the crown prince. In fact, he was already capable of contending with the crown prince. Thus, he was the perfect opponent for the crown prince. "Okay, I see." Nero and the others nodded, and then quickly spread the news. In an instant, the news spread throughout the first level of Infernal Realm. Moreover, it swept out in all directions. Soon, people in the second and third levels of Infernal Realm knew. Not only Infernal Realm, but the whole Infernal Realm knew. Countless experts from the sects and clans in the underworld were shocked. 10 days later, at the flaming battlefield. "Let's go. We must go and watch the battle to see how strong the dead soul's abyss is. I also want to see if Lin Wuti has the right to be so arrogant. He dares to fight to the death with the dead soul's abyss." Discussions were heard one after another. Everyone was rushing to the flaming battlefield. The flaming battlefield. It was an ancient battlefield. There were cracks on the ground, and the temperature was extremely high. There were flames burning in the surroundings and in the air. After entering, the weak ones would be easily burned to ashes. Countless people had already returned to the battlefield. Most people were watching from outside the flaming battlefield. After all, the temperature inside was too high. Among them, Ling Long Shui also came. Hanya also came. They looked at each other. Ling Long Shui walked over and said, "Have you heard? The two sides are the Dead Soul's Abyss and Lin Wudi. Do you think it will be him?" Hanya took a deep breath. Was it Lin Gongzi? One had to know that they had previously recruited a top-notch genius called Lin Wudi. Was this Lin Wudi the one who had challenged the Dead Soul's Abyss? He was not sure. Hanya said they should have the same name. No matter how strong Lin Gongzi was, it would be difficult for him to resist the attack of the Dead Soul's Abyss. He might not even be able to make one move. Ling Long Shui sighed. Yes, he is really too strong. He is stronger than us. I wonder how many people are able to contend with him. There were no more than 5 people in the younger generation who could compete with him. At this moment, a deep voice was heard. Ling Long Shui turned around. Is father here too? She saw the blood fiend saint walking over. Beside him, Hanya bowed. Greetings, saint. The blood fiend saint looked at Hanya and said, "Your father is not here." Before Hanya could answer, laughter was heard from afar. How could I not come? The soul saint was here too. He floated over. Countless people bowed to him. The two saints came together. It seemed that everyone was looking forward to this battle. Are you talking about that kid? The blood fiend saint asked. The soul saint was shocked. Impossible. That kid is not even a great saint. I know the Dead Soul's abyss of strength. He even dared to challenge a saint. He is definitely very strong. Even the two great sages didn't believe that Lin Wudi was the person they knew. At this moment, Hanya said, "Let's wait and see. It won't take long. Lin Wudi will come. At that time, we will know whether it is him or not." A few people nodded. They occupied a good spot and were ready to watch. Then more and more people came. At this moment, a terrifying killing intent appeared between heaven and earth. It made everyone's scalp go numb. Even the blood fiend saint and the soul saint looked at each other. Is he here too? They thought of a person. At this moment, a figure walked over from the front of the battlefield. It was the Dead Soul's Abyss. He stood there, surrounded by countless large flags that froze heaven and earth. The flames on the flaming battlefield could not hurt him at all. The surrounding people were shocked to see this. The Dead Soul's Abyss was indeed powerful. His aura alone could sweep across the flaming battlefield. Who could be his match? Chapter 5039. The Dead Soul's Abyss stood in the flaming battlefield, and his eyes seemed to be able to penetrate the world. He said coldly, "Since you're here, come out. Mo Qiansha?" Hearing this, the others were also shocked. Mo Qiansha is here too? He's the top genius assassin of Sansane Hall. In the next moment, the void fluctuated, and a figure appeared. Countless people were terrified, and even those of the older generation were frowning. So terrifying. He has already practiced Shadowless Skies net to an extremely high level. I can't even tell when he arrived. If he didn't deliberately release his killing intent, we wouldn't know who killed us even if we were killed. Voices rang out one after another. Mo Qiansha stood in the void and looked down, saying, "It seems that no matter how I cultivate, I can't hide from you." The Dead Soul's Abyss said, "You're already very powerful. Apart from me, there are no more than 5 people in the younger generation who can resist your assassination." This was already an extremely high evaluation. The surrounding people were shocked. These 2 young geniuses were enough to sweep through everything. Even those of the older generation were ashamed of their inferiority. At this moment, the Dead Soul's Abyss waved his hand and said, "Linger, come here." In the distance, another figure walked over. It was a woman. She looked ordinary, but no one dared to look down on her. especially her eyes, which were strange and terrifying and made people's scalps tingle. She should be the younger sister of the Dead Souls Abyss. Called Huanling Mo Qiansha, was also shocked when he saw her eyes. What a terrifying pair of eyes. She must have practiced fantasy's spiritual eyes. The Dead Souls Abyss nodded. Yes, it's that kind of eye technique, Mo Qiansha said. It seems that I have another powerful enemy. My shadowless skies net is in her eyes, and I may not be able to dodge it completely. She may be able to easily locate my position. Hearing this, the crowd was shocked again. Is this woman's eyes already so terrifying? Shadowless skies net is a divine ability of a great emperor. Apart from Mo Qiansha, more people came, such as the top geniuses of Bridge of Helplessness, the top experts of Granny Meng's faction, and the 10 kings of Hell also came. These were the top geniuses of the younger generation. Each of them stood there like a demon god. With all these people gathered together, countless people felt immense pressure. They knew that the world would belong to these people in the future. Even Shui, Linglong, Hanya, and the others felt an enormous pressure as they chatted together. Although they were strong compared to those geniuses in front of them, they were still a little lacking. They belonged to the second echelon. As for the people at the front, they were all at the very top. The Death Soul Abyss was even above these top geniuses. Thus, defeating him or even challenging him was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. About half a day later, someone suddenly came from afar. Some people stopped talking because they realized that the people who had come were from the illusionary flowers reflected moon. Many people looked over, and then their pupils constricted. Were these people already healed? After all, they knew that they had been tortured for the past few months. Every single one of them was severely injured, and it was a fate worse than death. But now all of them had recovered, and they were all in high spirits. Who was it? What kind of method? Let these people recover? Could it really be Lin Wuti? Countless people were puzzled. Nai Luo also came. She said loudly, Lin Wuti will be here soon. Hearing this, the surrounding people quieted down. Lin Wuti was really coming. Countless people looked into the distance. Shui, Linglong, Hanya, and even the 2 great saints looked through the world. They really wanted to know if Lin Wuti was the person they knew. In the next moment, they saw a man with demon chi walk over. This person was like a real demon god that had been revived. He walked very slowly, but in the blink of an eye, he arrived at the battlefield. His power instantly tore the flames of the flaming battlefield apart. This person's aura was terrifying. Countless people were shocked. It was the first time for many people to see him. Was he Lin Wuti? His demon chi was so strong. Was he from the demon realm? Discussions broke out one after another. Shui, Linglong frowned. I don't remember Lin Gongzi having such a terrifying demon chi. Could it be that he had concealed it before? Hanya also said that he was not sure. He turned to the person next to him and said, Father, what do you think? Hanya said, judging from his face, he should be the Lin Gongzi we know. However, his aura seems to be different from before. So I'm not sure. He was indeed not sure. It was only 10 years. Logically speaking, it was difficult to change a person's aura. But now, Lin Wuti's demon chi was too shocking. Of course, he did not know that Lin Xian had been cultivating the ancient scripture of earth for the past 10 years. So he naturally had a monstrous demon chi. The top geniuses in front of them all turned their heads. Countless gazes pierced the sky. The void around Lin Xian kept shattering. Lin Xian, on the other hand, simply stood there, unmoved. These top geniuses were powerful. With so many gazes, it was terrifying. But why would Lin Xian be afraid? An even more terrifying aura appeared in his eyes. Their gazes collided. The sky fell, and the earth cracked. A bottomless abyss appeared in front of them. Everyone This is my battle with him. Please stand aside and watch." Dead Soul's Abyss walked over and said in a deep voice. The other top geniuses all retreated. Only 2 figures were left on the battlefield. "Are you Lin Wuyi, the one who destroyed the palace of the undead clan?" Dead Soul's Abyss said in a deep voice. His voice almost extinguished the flames on the flaming battlefield. "Yes, I am. The undead clan deserves to die. Not only did you want to kill me, but you also attacked my friends. I won't let you go. If you have any last words, leave them." Then a terrifying killing intent appeared in Lin Xian's eyes. The surrounding demon chi was monstrous, as if it had turned into a roaring demon dragon. The flaming battlefield kept shaking. It could not withstand this power. The demon chi rushed forward and turned into a demon sword, piercing through the sky. It slashed at Dead Soul's Abyss. Dead Soul's Melody's face darkened. He shouted coldly and kicked. A huge soul phantom appeared, covering the sky and the earth. It contended with the phantom. The 2 sides collided. Countless cracks appeared on the ground, spreading in all directions. The surrounding people kept retreating. They all exclaimed, "What a terrifying power!" After blocking the demon chi, Dead Soul's Abyss waved his hand and tore the void apart. He said, "You have some strength. No wonder you dare to return to my palace. You are worthy of my attack." Chapter 5040. Death Soul's Abyss's eyes glowed. He found that his opponent was a worthy opponent. His 10 years of searching for him had not been in vain. "Take this." Death Soul's Abyss waved his hand and struck out with his palm. The gray palm was shattered. The flames on the flaming battlefield formed a spatial zone. This palm was too terrifying. Even the people in the distance could feel the immense pressure. Their scalps went numb. They knew that even a great sage intermediate would be instantly torn apart by this attack. Lin Xian snorted coldly and struck out with the 6-path fists. It was unstoppable and invincible. His will was so powerful that it seemed to be able to penetrate the universe. Boom, boom. Their attacks collided and burst out with dazzling divine light like lightning. The whole battlefield was completely lit up. The spectators were terrified, especially the young geniuses. They felt desperate. It was their misfortune to be in the same era as such people. The older generation figures also shook their heads and sighed in their inferiority. They found that the 2 young men had surpassed them. The world was theirs now. After one strike, their divine powers were all shattered. They were evenly matched. "You're strong enough to resist my move. You'll die if you take my next move." Death Soul's Abyss laughed. He waved his hand and struck out another attack. It was a large flag fluttering in the wind. He struck it down and split the world in half. This was not an ordinary attack. Not only was it powerful, but it also contained endless resentful spirits. Their crazy roars could affect the souls of saints. If a great saint was careless, his soul would be torn to pieces in an instant. Lin Xian was also surprised. Death Soul's Abyss's strength was beyond his imagination. Death Soul's Abyss deserved to be called a top genius. He deserved to go all out. He took a deep breath and struck out with his sword. Black devil chi quickly condensed into a sword of the law. He held it in his hand. The power of the great dragon sword soul gushed out. It was invincible. He struck out with his sword. The whole battlefield shook and was split in half. This strike seemed to be able to destroy the world. This time, even Death Soul's Abyss's expression changed. The power of this sword was too strong, beyond his imagination. He retreated quickly. After one strike, the flaming battlefield was split open. Those who were watching the battle from afar were incomparably shocked. What kind of sword technique was this? Lin Xian stood above the 9 heavens like a sword god. He looked down and said coldly, "Didn't you say you were going to kill me? What? You don't dare to do it now. Bring out your true strength." He swung his sword again. The dead spirit roared. The dead soul's abyss bellowed furiously and spat out a voice that filled the sky, causing the entire world to split apart. Endless runes erupted from his body as he activated his bloodline power. It had the body of an undead spirit, and its strength was incomparable. At this moment, it attacked with all its strength. Lin Xian was still not afraid. He brandished his sword and swept through the 9 heavens. His figure was incomparably powerful, like a fiend god. Every sword strike could shatter heaven and earth. The sound that filled the sky was continuously split apart by his sword technique. Lin Xian strode over. He was already less than 100 meters away from Yuan 40. This distance was negligible. The dead soul's abyss snorted coldly. "Do you think my killer move is just these sounds? You're too naive. The real killer move is here." He formed a hand seal, and at some point gray flags appeared around him one after another. There were a total of 36 of them, and they covered the world. At the same time, they enveloped Lin Xian. This was his killer move. Lin Xian stood in the field, looking around, unmoved. He said, "Formation? You can't do anything to me." His body bloomed, emitting an extremely terrifying aura. 9 suns' divine fire swept out. It burned in all directions. 9 suns rotated between heaven and earth. The flames overflowed the flaming battlefield, burning continuously. The people watching the battle in the distance were also shocked. "God, what kind of flame is this? Why do I feel that it's more terrifying than the flames on the flaming battlefield? This guy has so many trump cards." Cries of surprise could be heard one after another. The dead soul's abyss also frowned. He also felt a threatening flame. It was the power of the purest yang, which was completely opposite to his cold power. It was a natural restraint. Damn it, he originally thought that the opponent was from the netherworld, but now it seemed that was not the case. He was from another starry sky world. Moreover, he had seen this kind of terrifying power once before. It was the monkey. Previously, the monkey's eyes had pierced through him. Now he had encountered this flame. It made him angry. A biting, cold, killing intent appeared in his eyes. "I hate this kind of power the most. I'll tear you to pieces." The aura of death on the 36 flags melted under the light of the 9 suns. It melted like ice and snow, unable to get close to Lin Xian. Lin Xian shouted angrily, attacking one of the flags. The flag swayed, and cracks appeared on it. The dead soul's abyss's pupils shrank, and he shouted angrily, "How dare you?" He knew that he could not be careless anymore, so he kept forming seals with his palms. The 36 flags shone brightly, and a rune of law appeared on each of them. The 36 runes were different, and they shone together at this moment. Ancient curse runes. With a roar, the 36 runes shone brightly, and all kinds of terrifying power rushed out. This was the power of the curse, forming a curse space. Lin Xian felt a huge threat inside, as if there was an invisible force that wanted to destroy it. Lin Xian shouted coldly, using the 9 yang divine body to the extreme. With a wave of his fist, the 9 suns swept between heaven and earth. It burned and melted everything. A flag shattered and turned into nothingness. Following that, the remaining banners were also destroyed. Lin Xian waved his fist, and the 36 flags were shattered by him one after another. However, that terrifying aura still did not disappear. The dead soul's abyss sneered. "Lin Wudi, you underestimate me too much. Once this ancient curse rune is out, it is no longer attached to the flag. Even if my dead soul's flag is destroyed, This ancient curse rune will not be destroyed. You will fall under the curse. The corner of his mouth raised into a smile. In the distance, Phantom also smiled. He knew that his brother was in a battle, and he would definitely win. The others were also discussing. It seemed that the Dead Souls Abyss was still a level higher. This Lin Wuyi was finished. The undead clan was extremely confident that no one would be able to escape from such a killing move. Not good. Ling Long Shui, Hanya, and the others' expressions changed, and the two saints also frowned. Lin Wuyi, how are you going to break such a killer move? To be honest, they were worried for Lin Xian at this moment. Unless Lin Xian had an even stronger trump card, he was really in danger this time. Could it be that he was going to fall here? Chapter 5041. In the face of such a terrifying attack, Lin Xian was still not afraid. He waved the long sword in his hand, with an aura that could destroy everything, to resist those ancient runes. The power of the dragon-shaped sword Qi was boundless. Boom! It slashed those ancient runes. The ancient runes kept dimming, and more than a dozen of them cracked, while the others were also broken. Is this all you've got? If you don't have other unique skills, you can't beat me. Lin Xian looked disdainfully in all directions, like a sword god descending. The abyss of Dead Soul's face became a little dark. To be honest, he never thought that the other party could break his divine abilities so easily. The power of these ancient runes was very terrifying. Even a mid-stage great saint was not a match at all. He would definitely fall in despair. However, the other party easily broke it with a few swords, which shocked him. It seemed that the other party's strength was beyond his expectations, especially his sword technique, which was unheard of. Good boy. It seems that I have really underestimated you. Since then, you will suffer despair next. An extremely terrifying light burst out from the abyss of Dead Soul's eyes. Obviously, he was going to use his strongest unique skill, illusory spirit formation. One after another, terrifying runes flew out from his body, sweeping across all directions, flashing between heaven and earth, instantly forming a powerful formation. There was an extremely terrifying soul power flying out from it, attacking Lin Xian. This power was even more terrifying than the ancient runes from before. Lin Xian's expression was cold, waving his sword Qi, sweeping in all directions, shattering all the soul power. He said, "Is that all? You are really disappointing. Boy, don't be so arrogant. My unique skill is not something you can imagine. You will see it later." The abyss of Dead Souls snorted coldly, forming a seal with his palms, and immediately the broken rune formation condensed again. An extremely cold aura was emitted from inside. A terrifying cold wind blew out. This cold wind was as if it was blown out from the 18th level of hell, making one's hair stand on end. After blowing past, the surrounding void kept shattering, unable to resist at all. The others also felt their scalps go numb, and their faces were filled with horror. What kind of formation was this? Some people frowned. Could it be that the rumors were true? Legend had it that this spell formation was made up of winds drawn from the 18 layers of hell. It was incomparably terrifying, and if a great sage were to be enveloped by it, he would undoubtedly die. What? Was he that powerful? The others were even more shocked after hearing this. The 18 levels of hell. The deeper one went, the more terrifying it would be. The energy gathered and extracted from there would definitely exceed one's imagination. This Death Soul's abyss was truly terrifying. When the Dead Soul's abyss heard this, the corners of his mouth curled up into a complacent smile. He said, "How's the kid? Did you hear that? How can you resist this kind of energy?" Cold Moon Palm. A deep voice sounded out. Suddenly, An endless amount of Yin wind transformed into a crescent moon that descended and enveloped Lin Xian. The gloomy coldness formed by this crescent moon was even more terrifying. It was as if the entire hell had descended. When the surrounding people felt it, they kept retreating. Their eyes were filled with despair. It was over. No one could withstand such an attack. Some older generation figures said that the nether wind formed in this Death Soul's abyss was absolutely not from the first 3 levels. It must be below the 3rd floor. No one could compare to this kind of power, and the others were even more shocked. Most of them could not go to the 3rd floor. However, this Death Soul's abyss could actually go to the 3rd floor and below. How shocking was his ability! The young geniuses sucked in a breath of cold air. Was this the power of a top-notch genius? The gap between them and him was really too big. The Death Soul's abyss was really strong. However, that Lin Wuti was not simple either. To be able to make the Death Soul's abyss use such a unique skill, he should be proud. When this was said, the others also nodded. Yes, the sword technique he used previously was invincible and could even kill the ancient curse talisman. If not for the Death Soul's abyss, who had a powerful trump card, if it were anyone else, they would not be able to withstand such sword energy. The person who said this was an elite from Yanluo Jian. His body was filled with a black aura, causing the surrounding people to be terrified and their scalps to tingle. Needless to say, this was an extremely terrifying older generation figure. If even he said so, it was enough to show how terrifying the 2 people in front were. Everyone looked over and saw that the battle ahead was extremely terrifying. The moon was constantly condensing and spinning, and Lin Xian's longsword was waving. The Hellfire Dragon sword turned into dragon shadows one after another, sweeping across all directions. The battle between the 2 was earth-shattering. Xue, Linglong, Hanya, and the others were stunned. They could not even get close to such a battle. Not to mention fighting, they could not even block one move. At the same time, they were also shocked. Was that Lin Wuti really Lin Gongzi? This kind of strength was too heaven-defying. Even the 2 great saints gasped. If it was really Lin Wuti, then this person's strength was too heaven-defying. His future achievements were limitless. Lin Xian, who was at the front, kept waving his sword light. He was also shocked. One had to admit that this Death Soul's abyss was really too strong. No wonder the other party was so arrogant. It was not that he had not seen geniuses before. In fact, he had seen many of them. He had even fought with Long Ao before. However, this Death Soul's abyss in front of him was stronger than those geniuses. In particular, the unique skills and divine abilities were truly shocking. Lin Xian guessed that the other party should be able to compete with a real emperor's son. Such a person, no matter which era, would be the top. No wonder people called him the young emperor. If he wanted to fight against such an enemy in the past, he would have to go all out. He might even fall into a very dangerous situation. Unfortunately, he was different now. He was no longer the same as before. He had cultivated the great emperor's inheritance, which was superior to all other inheritances. The unique skills inside were unimaginable to others. His strength had also undergone an earth-shattering change compared to before. Thinking of this, Lin Xian's expression turned cold. A peerless formation? Then I'll let you see what a true peerless divine ability is. Lin Xian stretched out a finger. There were extremely terrifying black runes condensing on it. It was extremely mysterious. Then he pointed out, boom, boom. The sky fell, and the earth cracked. This finger turned into a ray of demonic light and flew forward. Wherever it passed, nothing could stop it. Not only that, the demonic runes on it flickered, causing the entire world to change. It was as if it was no longer hell, but a demonic world. What kind of divine ability was this? Feeling the power of this finger, the Death Soul's abyss expression finally changed. He kept waving his arm and condensed it again, forming a moon that kept spinning. He tried to block it. The cold wind on the moon could freeze everything. It collided with the demonic finger. Countless large cracks condensed between heaven and earth. Did he block it? The Death Soul's abyss heaved a sigh of relief. The others were also shocked. They didn't expect Lin Xian to have a unique skill. However, it shouldn't be a match for the Death Soul's abyss. However, just as they finished speaking, their pupils constricted. There was a shattering sound in front of them. Chapter 5042. They realized that cracks had appeared on the cold moon formed by the chilly wind, and there were more and more of them. It was impossible to resist. Finally, with a shattering sound, the cold moon shattered. The black finger attacked the Dead Soul's abyss. The Dead Soul's abyss's pupils shrank. He quickly retreated, leaving behind an afterimage. The place where he was standing was directly pierced through. Not only that, but a large crack appeared on the entire battlefield, spreading into the distance. The surrounding people felt a wave of fear. If this finger were to land on them, no one would be able to resist. It seems like you have a trump card. Lin Xian's eyes burst with a piercing cold light. He had also encountered a peerless enemy. He felt his blood boiling. With such an enemy, killing him would allow him to take another step on the path of martial arts. At that time, no one would be able to contend with him. At the thought of this, his figure flickered, and he charged forward. The illusory spirit array exploded again. This time, 10 cold moons appeared, rotating between heaven and earth. Countless people were shocked. Could it be that the Dead Soul's abyss had not used all his power before? Heaven, this is too unbelievable. The Dead Soul's abyss also shouted coldly, "Do you know that I have been cultivating in the 4th level of hell all these years? How can you imagine what I have experienced? No one can stop me, and neither can you." His voice rang between heaven and earth. Everyone was shocked. Heaven, the 4th level of hell, it was even more terrifying than the 3rd level. This Dead Soul's abyss could enter, and seemed to have stayed there for a long time. It was too unbelievable. Lin Xian snorted coldly. So what if it was the 4th level of hell? Do you think I have not improved over the years? What I have cultivated is also not something you can imagine. Speaking of this, the light on his finger exploded again. At the same time, he formed a seal with his palm. Endless demonic qi condensed, forming a huge seal. He held it in his hand and slammed it forward. Everywhere it passed, the sky collapsed and the earth cracked. This attack caused hundreds of black holes to appear between heaven and earth. The light of the stars in the outer realms shone down upon them. Countless people were shocked. What kind of magic was this? It surpassed everything. Could it be the legendary Great Emperor's magic? It was too unbelievable. Where did this guy cultivate the Great Emperor's magic? Death Soul's abyss, can you block this attack? Lin Xian shouted coldly as the black seal rushed forward. The Great Earth Monarch's divine ability, Demon God Seal. Once it was used, its power would be boundless. Before the seal arrived, countless spatial cracks had already appeared in the surroundings. Dead Soul's abyss's body went cold. He felt a threat to his life. Damn it, what a powerful divine ability. I can feel the aura of extreme Tao. Could it really be a divine ability of the Great Emperor? His expression became extremely ugly. The undead spirit source was very powerful, enough to enter the 4th level of hell. In the entire underworld, there were not many young geniuses who could contend with him. One could say that he was very far away. However, no matter how strong he was, the divine abilities and martial arts he cultivated could not be compared to true emperor-level divine abilities. Therefore, at this moment, when facing the real demon god seal, he was also facing a formidable enemy, The expert from the Bridge of Helplessness cried out in alarm. What a terrifying aura! I can feel my soul trembling. Could it really be the power of the extreme Tao? The theurgy of the great emperor? Soul Sage sucked in a breath of cold air. It must be a divine ability of the great emperor. He had cultivated the earth divine ability, Azura Sword technique, and Shadowless Heaven's net. Naturally, he could feel the power of the great emperor's divine ability. At this moment, the aura coming from the Black Seal was very similar to the two divine abilities of the great emperor. This must be a divine ability of the great emperor. Where did Lin Wuti learn it? They had never taught him before. The blood fiend Saint sighed as well. This was a true young great emperor. Hanya and Xue Linglong were stunned as well. Their eyes were filled with shock and admiration. To be honest, they had always wanted to compete with Lin Xian. But now, it seemed that they were really too naive. Lin Xian had long surpassed them. They might not even be able to block a single attack from him. The others were even more shocked as they looked ahead. Was this really a divine ability of the great emperor? It was as if the great emperor had come back to life. Dead Soul's Abyss's expression was even colder. I always thought that I could compete with the true great emperor. In the entire underworld, there are no more than 5 people who can fight with me. There are no more than 3 who can make me take them seriously. And they are all top geniuses who have been famous for a long time. But I didn't expect that someone like you, who just appeared in the underworld, could make me feel like I'm facing a great enemy. Your attack even made me feel despair. If it was in the past, I might not have been able to block it. But unfortunately, I didn't cultivate in the 4th level of the underworld for nothing. I have also cultivated my own divine ability. I'll let you see it. Spiritual energy surged in all directions. As his voice fell, heaven and earth shattered in all directions. The earth cracked open and endless flames were extinguished. An extremely terrifying and strange aura spread out. Everyone's pupils shrank as they saw 8 stone tablets appear. On each stone tablet, there was a vertical eye drawn. The 8 eyes covered everything. Wherever the gaze passed, the void seemed to be cut open by a knife. What was this? The surrounding people were shocked. They didn't expect Dead Soul's Abyss to have such a divine ability. Could it be that it was just created? Looking at this scene, Phantom heaved a sigh of relief. He knew how terrifying the power of spiritual energy surged in all directions was. The other party would definitely not be able to block it. Lin Xian frowned. The other party still had a trump card, but so what? He didn't care at all. Waving his palm fiercely, the demon god's seal blasted down. This attack was unstoppable, completely ignoring the 8 stone steels. Seeing this scene, Dead Soul's Abyss frowned. Wasn't the other party dodging? Where did the other party get the confidence to block the 8 spiritual eyes? The others were also shocked. Was he going to fight with his life on the line? They didn't know why Lin Xian chose to perish together with the other party. But in the next moment, they understood because a pair of black wings appeared behind Lin Xian. With a gentle flap, he instantly disappeared. He actually dodged the gaze of the 8 spiritual eyes and appeared in front of them in an instant. Not good. Dead Soul's Abyss pupils shrank. The other party's speed was faster than he expected. Soul Sage exclaimed. This wasn't Shadowless Heaven's net. The other party actually had a movement technique comparable to the Shadowless Swan, and his speed was even faster in a straight line. What kind of movement technique was that? Cracks appeared on Dead Soul's Abyss body. He roared, "You want to dodge the spiritual eyes and chase after me? Impossible. I'm in the array formation." With a roar, the eyes on the stone tablet moved and charged over again. Wherever the gaze passed, it was very fast. In an instant, it had arrived. The black wings on Lin Xian's back flapped again, and he instantly dodged. He seemed to have appeared in a different location. At the same time, he also used Shadowless Heaven's net. His figure was even more elusive. You're tuning in to the Mystic Fist YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.